and take over. Unite and take over.
The great achievements.
اضرب Tel Aviv اضرب Tel Aviv اضرب يا قسام خلص صهيوني my name اضرب Tel Aviv اضرب Shoplifters of the world, unite and take over. Hello, Scouty Paws. Oh, Adler. Hello. YouTube, I'm just getting over to you now. Don't complain. Thank you. Be quiet. Stop it. God, my stream yesterday got hammered with copyright claims. Got about 3 copyright claims yesterday. One from fucking 60 minutes. One from Jubilee, and then so if you're wondering why the VOD is like 30 seconds, that's why. I hope you're all having nice days. Hello Marcus, hello Hidden Iron, hello Killian. I hope you're all having nice days. I certainly am having a nice day. I'm a little. Oh, you can't be showing that on YouTube. No. I don't understand the whole Jubilee thing, because I've seen people upload them. Older. Didn't I say Older? Did I say Adler? Did I get it wrong? I can't remember. Blem Fandango. Snuska. Hello. Hello Samuel PVA. Hello Resigning Zeus. Hello Friend of Crows. I mean, I don't know what you're doing with those damn crows, but I would not be friends with corvids. They are sick and beastly creatures. I'm joking. I'm sure corvids do nice things for people. You can befriend them, can't you? If they remember your face. They're very intelligent chappies, aren't they? Oh, what was going on there? I just saw something that I did not like the look of, but now I've looked away. Also, I've realised I need to start uploading more slop, more on Instagram, but that's a matter for another day, matter for a different discussion. I hope you're all having lovely days. Crows are amazing. I'll believe it when I see it. That's all I'm saying. Today's the gaming stream, right? Yeah, right? Nice little hot cup of tea. Emiratis are traitors. What? Because they left because they left OPEC. Oh my gosh, for the first time ever it's telling me that my live quality is excellent over on Twitch. Who would have thought it? What's up, Chris? Happy Tuesday. Yeah, it is a happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. We got some interesting stories to cover. We got some slop. What should we do? Ethan Klein, I really shouldn't have dedicated my sort of slop knowledge to Ethan Klein specifically, because I think I got here, you know at the start of The Sopranos when Tony's talking to Dr. Melfi and he's like, I got in here at the end of things, just when things got bad, the RICO Act and stuff. I got in at the bad point when Ethan, took a little step back and he was moving away. If I'd started as early as some people had, wow, it was a never-ending content farm, but I got here a little late. But yeah, I haven't got any slop like that. I'm not akin enough with YouTuber drama. Shoplifters of the world. It's Tuesday, innit? It is indeed Tuesday. Let him wallow in his irrelevancy and misery. Yeah, occasionally he produces something interesting that's almost funny to look at or to listen to, but I think he's been told by his crew, stop talking about this because you're an idiot. We had a great... It's Tuesday, innit? Why do you all keep saying it's Tuesday, innit? It is indeed Tuesday. Oh, I think my blind's going to fall down. I still haven't sorted the blind up there, which is kind of tragic. Good morning, guys. Good morning. I keep forgetting Chris is British. Yep. I am British. I am indeed British. I'm British and I live in the UK. I live in one of the toughest places to live in the world. We deal with so much trouble. I live in one of the toughest places to live in the world because once upon a time we were an imperial power and now we're no longer an imperial... Excuse me. Now we're no longer an imperial power. And everyone whines about it. Everyone. They're always just like, do you remember Churchill? He was good. Oh, he was brilliant. When they go, oh, Churchill, he was brilliant. I love him. I love Churchill. And it's just like, okay, mate. He was a blubbering crybaby, crying all the time, and he was a bit beta. He was a bit beta. Hope they find a decline. Yeah. The great news: the UAE exits OPEC. Now UAE freely exports to the world. I think there might be a bit of trouble with freely exporting to the world. Yeah, just a bit more exploitation of the world. Although I was reading a piece today that was talking about hard-working British investments in certain places and how some British investments paid off pretty well. But yeah, there's an annoying dog on the parcel shelf of cars. Yeah, that's who I was talking about, EMC UAE. Who's the other Churchill? Churchill's the tax man. Churchill's... What are you talking about? Churchill's the dog. This guy. This guy. What are you talking about? This gentleman. That's Churchill. Who on earth are you talking about? What do you prefer, apple or bananas? You just asked me my two favourite fruits, so pretty tough question. You can't see my whole face. It's because this camera's got a bit of a crap stand, and I don't really know how to hook it properly. Hold on. There you go. You should be able to see my whole face now. I like the cat at Downing Street. Yeah, he's all right. Larry the cat, I think his name is. Oh, yes. That's what Churchill says. But vis-a-vis apples and bananas, I feel like I get more out of an apple than I do a banana, so probably that. I also quite like raspberries. I eat raspberries every morning in my porridge. Or my oatmeal. In my oatmeal, I'm eating raspberries and a bit of cinnamon, y'all. What's the name of the shop that has a bulldog listening to HMV? Do you know what HMV stands for? His master's voice, because the dog's listening to his master's voice, if you didn't know that. Get to know, boy. Hello, Mr. Cancer. Thank you for joining me as I do some gardening. What are you doing? Cutting... I was trying to think of a flower. All I can think of is damn roses. I know the roses. I've heard of the roses. I think porridge and oatmeal are exactly the same thing. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it's not a bulldog, though, is it? The HMV dog. We got an exciting day, though. We got a few news stories to cover. I like burgers. Also, the big Yahoo sucks. Toes. I wouldn't be so offensive to Paul Scholes there. There's nothing wrong with a bit of toast. That is actually... By the way, if any of you don't know this, I mean, some of you are Americans, and probably quite a lot of you don't like football. Paul Scholes, who's like one of the greatest ever Premier League midfielders, had a video where he was sucking his daughter's toes. It was his daughter's toes, wasn't it? It's actually insane. There was just a video of this guy sucking his daughter's toes. It was actually outrageous. But yeah, thank you for the $2. And I would agree with you, the big Yahoo does suck. But if you've never heard this story, yeah, there are genuinely videos of him chewing on his daughter's toes. It's really unusual. Where is the trigger warning? Well, I didn't show any videos of it. It's just a thing of him doing it. You can look into this. This is true. Paul Scholes is like a really famous English footballer. Now, I guess it's interesting because some of you don't know this kind of stuff, but he's regularly like on Instagram reels and stuff, and he does football commentary kind of stuff, punditry, I think you'd call it now. And he, for some reason, was sucking his daughter's toes. It's very odd. I don't know what situation you could ever be in to do that. He was getting a splinter out, if I remember correctly. Just use tweezers. Just use tweezers. Still clear of Lampard, even with that video. I mean, the crazy thing about Lampard is that he scored 200 goals and he wasn't even an attacking midfielder. If I'm honest, you know, I'd put him in pretty much any team because you want a midfielder. Like, you want your goals to, especially now, you want your goals to come from diverse places. And if you got someone who's scoring 200 damn goals, wow, I'd be interested in that. Americans kiss their kids on the mouth. Sometimes British people kiss on the mouth. But speaking of football legends, John Terry, who was a very racist Chelsea player, a bit unsurprising there, apparently commented that he was in favour of remigration or something to that effect. I just joined the stream. Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? Well, it's an ongoing conversation. You can join a conversation at any point. Ain't it right? I don't know what Lampard is. I think Lampard is actually a Conservative. I think he's a Tory. If I remember correctly. He probably would vote Reform. I don't know. Warm water to soak a splinter, then tweezers to remove. Maybe a good idea. I actually got a splinter in Montreal that I haven't checked on in ages. I don't see it, so perhaps it just fell out. Or perhaps I got it out. I don't recall. Is worrying news coming out of the Green Party? What news has come out of the Green Party? I don't know. What did the Green Party do? The only thing I've seen of him, the only thing I've seen recently about the Green Party is Zach Polanski interviewing Ed Balls. Well, Ed Balls interviewing him, which was funny. That is a shocking revelation. Yeah, Lampard is a Tory. Yeah. Lampard is a Tory. I think so. Yeah. What Family Guy part is that from? Former UK, India is one of the largest investors in the United Kingdom at present. I mean, yes, possibly. Apparently 22 members suspended for anti-Semitism. I mean, I don't know. I think some people on the internet want to convince you that anti-Semitism doesn't matter because they're these leftists who are like, well, we shouldn't talk about anti-Semitism. But I'm going to be frank here. If you genuinely think that, like, Israel are this big other that have made America bad, that are, like, responsible for everything bad that America is and does, that I understand people being confused, especially over the stuff involving Iran. But if you're literally like, Israel is devil, responsible for everything bad, you are not a leftist. You are just someone who is looking for some big other to try and understand the world. The world is more complex than that. It is very, very obvious that there is a capitalist elite that play a big role in decisions, but also figures like the US president have their own quirks and oddnesses. Some of the people suspended, probably incorrect, but I saw some of them and it was like, yeah, some of the stuff they're saying is pretty crazy. I don't know, but I'll have to look into why they were suspended, who they were suspended, if it is akin to what the Labour Party did. The UAE has Tutu, sometimes you come on here and you say stuff where I think you're just doing it to be combative, and one of the things that you've come on and said today is that the UAE did not leave APAC. The UAE has left APAC. I mean, the UAE has, of course, not left APAC. The UAE fucking loves APAC. The UAE has not left OPEC. I'm a white American who has never kissed their family members. Well, you're not French then. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, you do meet people like this, people who are talking about, kind of like, I don't know, just Israel being like the devil responsible for everything the US does. It's not some cool, nuanced opinion. It's not a good opinion, and it's antithetical to someone who has a progressive agenda in the sense of it's not diagnosing the problems that we face in the world. I will look into this, hold on, about the Green Party, though. Let's see why they've suspended people. Green Party. Non-Israeli Jews are experiencing lactic anti-Semitism aggression because of Israel conflating Judaism and Zionism is hurting and even killing other people. I don't even think I just blame Israel, by the way, as well for that. I think the biggest driver, I think the biggest actual driver in it is actually the contradiction in politics right now of the fact that the vast majority of people in the United Kingdom and the US are actually really against Israel and these, like, the way that Israel behaves. But the fundamental issue is that our governments are not changing. The governments are not changing, and it creates this contradictory position where they're like, well, Israel's unshakable. This must be because Jewish people control the world. Jewish people have so much say and sway and blah, 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 blah. And that must be the thing that they're like, that you end up with this thing, and it is leading to bad consequences for Jewish people. I mean, there's all these stories about whether Iran is currently paying youths to carry out, like, attacks on Jewish communities, which, I mean, I don't know how they'd prove it's Iran. They haven't seen much really hard evidence. I can't find much about the Green Party. Oh, for fuck's sake. I can't find much about the Green Party expulsions. I hadn't actually seen it. But you are right. There are troublesome worries about this. Did you see Morgan McSweeney? No, I do want to show this to the chat more than I want to show you. And I don't want anyone who knows to answer this. But if you don't officially know how old this man is, I would like you to have a guess how old he is. So this is Morgan McSweeney, who was the closest ally of Keir Starmer. Here he is. We're going to get him in a sec. Well, that's Emily Thornberry. This is Morgan McSweeney. How old do you think this man is? How old do you think this man actually is? Just take a guess. How old do you think this gentleman is? Over 12, under 86. 35, 37, 13 or 30, 14, 36. I haven't even seen a 12-year-old who wished to be 20, 45. He is normal and trustworthy man. 40. He's actually 49 years old. That is incredible. Whatever he is getting up to look 49 years old at this age is... to look like this at 49 years of age is just incredible, because he's 49. He was born in 1977. He's Irish as well. 49. It's actually outrageous. You think he's like a little boy? Yeah, adrenochrome. Maybe it's that. Maybe Mandelson was hooking him up with the Epstein-styley adrenochrome. I don't know, though. I'm not so sure it is that, but maybe it is that. I guess if you're connected to Peter Mandelson, maybe there is reason to have some suspects. Okay, right. I need to say I am live. Right, yeah, I'm gonna say I'm live. Guess what, everyone? It is another day, and I am live right now. We're going to be covering a few stories. We've had the UAE leaving OPEC. We've had Israel stealing a Ukrainian grain, causing some kind of diplomatic incident with potential sanctions, and much, much, much more news. So if you want to see any of that, just click the link above me if you're seeing this on Instagram, or just search Chris Kunzler over on YouTube, or do it on Twitch, where you can search Chris K Live. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing that? I mean, Brian Johnson doesn't look this youthful. The cool thing about Clavicular is perfected the inverse of going backwards in terms of his age. My prof has black hair. Oh, speaking of black hair, did any of you see the Jimmy Kimmel joke that's been deemed to be inappropriate? Because Jimmy Kimmel got a little bit too based. A little bit too based. Jimmy Kimmel did actually tell a funny joke, which is kind of shocking. I don't know if that's the most shocking part or what he said. I'm getting really good at going live these days. Oh, I'm also going to write out a tweet. Hold on, I'm just doing the saying the thing I'm live. Right, I am here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. What's up, Chris Cumlord? Hello, Linny the Pooh. Go piss girl. Thank you. Good morning. And you said it in a nice way. That's good. If it was in a nasty way, I would be very upset. But yeah, Jimmy Kimmel was telling some good jokes about Trump. I don't know if any of you saw them. They were pretty good. Right, hold on. I also need to up my chair. I think this is one of the issues. There we go. How's that? How's about that then? Sorry, that's a thing that Jimmy Savile used to say. Probably shouldn't be saying that anymore. So, Jimmy Kimmel has landed himself in a considerable amount of trouble, and also a considerable amount of comedy for perhaps the first time in years.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have...
By the way, sorry, we'll pull that back for a second. Barron is an odd-looking individual. Very odd-looking individual.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
People said, look at the top comment. Her husband has been attacked 3 times, and this is your joke? Kimmel is a piece of shit. I mean, you could also just say hers and her husband's relationship is not very good. They don't even live in the same place. They don't really have any meaningful kind of relationship. He lives in Washington. She lives in New York. They're clearly not very happy together. She'll probably be happy when he's gone. He's not a pleasant individual. There's also all the shit with Paolo Zampoli. There's actually a crazy video about that. And there's also this one.
Oh, look at who we have here, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is so racist. The reason he went bald is because his hair was black. Stephen Miller puts the cyst in white supremacist. He's like if baby Hitler traveled in time to kill us.
See, this is actual comedy. They've made comedy legal. They've made comedy legal. And it's funny. It is funny. I saw some people complaining at the pager joke as well, or how Mehdi Hassan had laughed at the pager joke. Had complained so profusely about a pager joke, whereas Jimmy Kimmel is like, no one cares that Jimmy Kimmel's making jokes about our long-suffering president. He's really, really having a tough time. But like, the obvious fundamental difference between the two of them is the pager joke was inflicted on children, colonized people in Lebanon who've been mass slaughtered and displaced by the Israelis for decades, whereas this is a joke at the expense of one of the most heinous individuals in the world, Donald Trump. No, Melania doesn't live at the White House. I think that like also that joke you could literally say is she'll be happy when Trump dies. It's pretty obvious that the two of them are not experiencing some kind of normal relationship. They're not. It's not normal. Punching up versus punching down. I think it's also what the joke really is. A joke at the expense of the president who brings so much suffering and misery to people's lives is funny. A joke at the expense of Lebanese people, Muslims, isn't. Bibi and Javier Milei cousin in cahoots. I posted the links in the news section of the Discord. I haven't seen that. I'll check that out. I actually need to close Discord. Maybe I'll check that out after the stream. Thank you. Actually, I will probably have a look at that in a bit. Thank you for the $5, Grandma Caprio. Incredibly kind donation, as always. Yeah, I know. She literally spends no time with Trump. People posted a video of him trying to...
Fred, and they were married for 63 years. And excuse me if you don't mind. That's a record we won't be able to match, darling. I'm sorry. Just not going to work out that way. We'll do well, but we're not going to do that well. 63.
This is such an odd little... She smiled more at the joke than the wicked Aaron Rupar suggested. By the way, favorite aspect of the shooter is definitely that the guy was like a radical centrist who loved Will Stancil and really just hated Hassan. It's really quite funny, I'm not gonna lie. And he was also kind of pro-Israel as well. He got upset. He drew the line at Iran. He criticized Arab voters in Dearborn. Ethan Klein, maybe sue him. Maybe sue him because AB is from Dearborn and you can't have someone talking shit about anyone related to you. My favorite theory is Melania wears hats. Theory is the hat she wears is to keep Trump from being able to kiss her. Maybe. Isn't there a whole thing about Melania body doubles, people claiming it's not actually her? I mean, I'm not so deep down that kind of thinking. Well, Will Stancil also admitted, I don't know if any of you saw this, Will Stancil admitted to honey potting ICE soldiers through Tinder. I don't know if any of you saw this. He said that the ICE militants were going crazy. The radical ICE extremists were going crazy on Tinder, like trying to sleep with local women. And basically, they'd all been messaging these Tinder accounts, just giving them information about what they were doing. Like, these girls would send them a couple of messages, and these guys would just straight be like, yeah, I'm catching illegals, man. But yeah, so here's one he retweeted. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to just give up the last 85 years of civil rights and put my voting, and then it's just talking about people in Dearborn. And here's another one. I've spent a lot of time in countries where graft and grifting are the norm, and I assure you it is worth a truly immense cost to prevent that from taking hold in society. You do not want to live in that society. How do people like this kind of stuff? How does someone see that and be like, preach? Grifting has obviously taken hold in our society. And criticize Hassan and say he participates in that. But certainly worse grifting goes on and occurs, okay? Like people who do Herbalife and those kind of... Well, I can't call that a scam. I may get myself in trouble. But those kind of like multi-level marketing things, they're not pleasant. They entrap people. Also influencers who just sell crap and scams around trading to people. Sell people to marginalized people. The notion that that you are like a radical centrist trying to defend capitalist society and protect our society by calling out Hassan for this when it's literally the demand of what we do, of commodifying, of how we exist, of commodifying everything is crazy work. Anyway, the Palestine protesters are functionally speaking Republicans. I mean, well who finds this to be intelligent? I guess there is a whole genre of people who this really is for, like radical centrists who are just unwilling to confront of, like, ultimately this is a failure of the party system. And by the way, they keep just admitting that it was bipartisan policy to, like, I don't know, potentially blow up Iran, to starve Cuba, but you just lay the groundworks. Wow, high-level emote modification. Yes, I think that emote was modified by Violist. Utah is home to a lot of MLMs. Mormons come pre-brainwashed. It's very easy to rope them into pyramid schemes. Guys, does anyone want to donate some money so I can raise a flight to Utah to start doing Herbalife in Utah to make my millions? American libs are the antithesis of intelligent. I don't think I agree with you. I think, unfortunately, the UK has a plentiful and a large amount of libs who are very unintelligent. Or some of them are intelligent, but their political diagnoses are like those of someone whose brain is not working too well. Anyway, he really liked _force. I find far right and far left dipshits who say, I just want the war to stop offensive. Do you think Ukrainians don't want ... Retweet Brianna Wu. My position on Gaza is nuanced. My position on what's happening to Jews at home is not. This is no different to the KKK. Right, thank you, thank you. Isn't there a new FLDS documentary about the fundamentalist Church of the Latter-day Saints? Yeah, like up damn MF stream. Likes are at a critical low. I'm getting reports in saying that. I'm hearing reports of critical lack of likes. La boo-boo. Hey, thank you for the 20 SAR. Chris Kunzler takes Saudi money oil bribes. Well, you know what? I was talking to my friends earlier, and I'm gonna talk about this. Biggest piece of propaganda that came out of the Iran war, the most outrageous, made-up nonsense lapped up by way too many, was that Saudi Arabia was advocating for the war never to end on Iran. The biggest load of nonsense that I have ever heard. Thank you very much for the SAR. The Saudi Arabian Rial. I thought it was going to be Saudi American Rial because it's the Arab Emirati dollar. Read about a particularly nasty health-based scam a Mormon did while also denying there's such things as germs a while ago. Interesting. Bad Empanada has beef with Hassan because he considers Hassan to be like a centrist and a Democratic Party entryist. Basically, that's his. That's Bad Empanada's qualm and many people's qualm, and some of Hassan's relationships with people deemed to be liberal Zionists, some of whom most definitely are. I'm not familiar enough with everyone. My dad thinks that this newest attempted shooting was a false flag. He's fully in Trump getting shot, going to get shot, and it's being planned. Now, the only thing I will say about the thing about him being shot is. The only thing I will say about him being shot is this doesn't actually really seem to benefit him. This doesn't actually really seem to have pushed him up in the polls. Sorry, Arabian... What is it? AED? AED currency. Emirati American dollars? United Arab Emirati dirham, excuse me. That's it, excuse me, I got that wrong. I've never had Emirati money. Brianna does bring the hits. Brianna Wu does bring the hits. I don't know if any of you saw this fantastical tweet by Brianna Wu. How do you even spell her name? She was like, I bet you anything that she's pro-Palestine, that he's pro-Palestine. Yeah, here you go. She said, I'd bet $1 million. She owes me $1 million. $1 million. He's free Palestine. He actually liked her content. And then she said, this is a screenshot. Do you understand this was back when I believed your side's lies? Oh. Great Brianna Wu tweet. Great tweet. We Americans get bored easily. We have a failed assassination fatigues. I know. All you guys do is try and assassinate Trump very badly. You guys ain't got shooters out there. You're always mocking British people, but the British people with their muskets managed to defeat, Napoleon. You guys ain't even got Trump, which obviously I would never endorse. I am live. Get the heck in. He retweeted David Frum too. I read a brilliant article today. Have any of you seen? By the way, it's starting to look like Israel may have got its way out of the fucking ICC case. But the Wall Street Journal had a beautiful opinion piece on all of this. The Wall Street Journal is fucking insane. Hold on. Oh my god, what is going on here with the Wall Street Journal? Right, here we go. So it's basically just about how apparently some Qatari sponsors are backing Karim Khan. Obviously not the case. Please censor... What? Hack? Oh, yeah. Gavrilo Princip was a 17-year-old riddled with tuberculosis. What's your excuse, Yankee? Did Gavrilo Princip really have tuberculosis? If so, this guy who's like been playing Nerf his entire life should be fucking ashamed of himself for his failures. But also for the president, we're all very happy because we do not want to see dear President Trumpy being shot. Can we watch vids of Alex Jones super chat? Shirtless. How big a super chat do I need to give to do this? I don't know. Well, what videos of him shirtless? Are you even allowed to show him? Is he allowed on this platform? Is he allowed on this platform? Because he got breasts. Sorry, there's this brilliant point here. It was always egregious to indict Israel's prime minister and defense minister for the country's defensive war which Hamas began. What the Nuremberg Tribunal rejected after World War II, the argument that the democratic defenders bomber pilots were equivalent to the totalitarian aggressors' death squads, Mr. Khan endorsed by seeking to prosecute both Hamas and Israeli leaders. In October 2024, these columns urged the ICC to halt its anti-Israel proceedings and to investigate Mr. Khan's personal conduct and its role in his sudden decision to seek arrest warrants on CNN. That decision junked Mr. Khan's own investigatory timeline, shocking his ICC staff. By the way, also, the whole thing is that they've just been struggling for this, and it's very clear what happens when you try and do this. When you do this. I doubt I'll ever visit Utah. If you switch to top chat, it'll clear any messages that were censored so you can see what goes through. Interesting. Thank you, Prevender. I was doubtful. I don't know. I can actually see all of your... I can see all of your messages, so I can look what message... I don't see any of your problematic ones. I can actually see them all. I saw your one saying that he looked like a championship referee, and I assume that was in reference to Morgan McSweeney. But yeah, I love how this is the editorial board. Who is on the editorial board? On the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. I mean, already I'm seeing an old white gentleman, which I don't like. James Freeman, Daniel Henninger, Dorothy Rabinowitz, Jason L. Riley, Kimberly Strassel, Peggy Noonan. I wouldn't trust any of these people. Paul Gigot. This is what Paul Gigot looks like. You're telling me this is the man you think that you should listen to vis-a-vis investigating the ICC? No thanks, chap. I won't be listening to you at all. This is Americans don't even explain to you why the ICC shouldn't be allowed to investigate Netanyahu. They just make that face and say democracy. Sabah al khair, Chris Goatsler, I love you. Thank you, Comrade Stapler. Thank you for a very nice message. Nothing good comes from old white men. I don't know. Ilan Pape is an old white man. He's done some alright stuff. Finkelstein's an old white man. He does do some pretty crazy shit, though, Finkelstein, so... Bro looks like Dennis Prager. I mean, it would seem that Dennis Prager is to the left of him, maybe. I don't know. So we've covered the Jimmy Kimmel stuff. Oh yeah, guys. We've got an awesome story to begin the day, which is those are the exceptions that make the rule. Great point. I'm just gonna go and grab some water. Oh, it's just down here. Gonna pour myself a nice little drink. Just gonna do that. Oh, fuck's sake. Did it up too tight. Sorry, I'm doing this really intentionally to annoy you. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a tough one to do. Wait, white, Jewish, white now. Oh yes, Ilan's of course Jewish, but he is Jewish. Those water noises were crisp. Thank you. I love it. I love pouring myself out. That's one of my favorite innovations that I started a few months ago. Mate, I'm not bringing it. You should see how shaky my hands are. Wait. Hold on. I'll try and hold this as steady as possible. I just have relatively shaky hands, so I'm not carrying a glass jug up. That's why I like my big bottle. You are such a fantastic moron. That's not pleasant. A compilation of Norman Finkelstein saying Destiny's name wrong. You know what? Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. I've watched a lot of that debate. It's very boring. Mr. Bonelli.
Your name, please?
Stephen Bonnell.
Okay. Mr. Bonnell, I'm a lot more literate than you, Mr. Borelli.
I'm going to believe that's not controversial.
Mr. Bonnell, Mr. Bonnell.
By the way, if you ever wanted proof that there is literally no correlation between intelligence and debate, or also anything and debate, lots of people watched this and thought Destiny gave a good impression of himself.
No.
Literally,
Mr.
you can
Borelli,
you can
Mr.
Google
Borelli,
it.
with all
Mr.
due respect, the problem, Mr. Morelli, is you don't know the English language. With all due respect, Mr. Bonnell, to see the misrepresentations that Mr. Bonnell, Mr. Borelli, Mr. Borelli,
I didn't want to read one.
Let him read.
Mr. Borelli, please don't teach me about the English language.
Did you read the case?
Yeah.
It is a highly special intent.
By the way, also, definitely, Destiny just got a summary of this via Wikipedia or also via someone else or via ChatGPT. Destiny has not read that case. It was literally proven in his interview with, what's his name? Adam, what's his name? That he had not read a book in his lifetime. And he's telling you that he's reading like a dry-ass UN case. Okay, bro.
I'm going to ask you again.
Yes.
Please stop displaying your imbecility.
Okay, I'm sorry if you think the Declaration of the Judge is imbecile.
Don't put on public display that you're a moron.
Display on camera if you're comfortable putting yours in books, okay?
I read the case around 4 times.
They just don't show genocidal intent.
I don't think so either.
The Israeli Minister of Finance on the 8th of October war.
Mr. Bonnell,
wait, you do know how to pronounce my name. Are you mispronouncing it intentionally?
He made you into an Italian all the time.
It may be meaningless to you, Mr. Bonnell.
It was meaningless to everyone in the region.
Mr. Bonnell.
Who owned the Gaza Strip before 67?
Mr. Bonnell, don't change the subject.
The actual
Destiny
alternative.
should talk about making money off of idiocy. Listen to this. Mr. Bonnell is now an expert on Palestinian mentality.
Where it was a good faith effort.
We have a written record.
With all due respect.
We have a written record,
Mr. Pop
Mr.
Historian.
Burrell.
You can't even read the written record.
By the way, also, Norman Finkelstein, like, probably you would say is someone who does write more popular history of Israel and Palestine than many other people. But it is well researched, and he is... like, the achievements of his lifetime and what he's done in academia is so much more impressive than Destiny basically being an internet sex pest.
I don't know why you're referring to it, okay?
Excuse me?
And I think Once Upon a Time being pretty competent at StarCraft, no?
I just said there are 15,000 pages on Annapolis.
And I'm sure you cherry-picked your favorite quotes from all of them, okay? That's great. That's great.
Mr. Burrell, at least I had a quote to cherry-pick.
That's great.
All you have is Wikipedia.
I gave you quotes.
All you have is Wikipedia.
Do you want quotes? They asked for all of Israel in 67.
Okay,
What do you
Mr.
think those
Bonnell,
words were about? You're not going to respond to anything I'm saying because you have no answer.
I'll respond to you.
That's correct.
Okay, Mr. Bonnell.
If you're a historian, if you do all this work, you did the things, tell me what they said. Don't just tell me a sentence. Tell me by what metric. Because they were fake, or that maybe 51% of the people were killed.
Look. Oh, at least I
just can't see the point in just debate. I think maybe if you're talking about, like, I've never watched Zizek debate Jordan Peterson. I bet the Zizek Jordan Peterson debates are something to marvel at. Zizek Jordan Peterson. There's 2.5 hours. I can't imagine what listening to the two of them is like. It is impressive what Zizek has become, though. I mean, Zizek still has interesting commentary, but from what he was to what he is now, and his commentary on general political issues around us is just... Why is it shit? Why is the debate shit? I mean, Zizek is just obviously way more intelligent than... is way more intelligent than Peterson, like, categorically. I don't know what Jordan Peterson's early work is, but if you genuinely compare that and, like, the field of Zizek in terms of what he does in did in terms of Lacanian and psychoanalysis and such, and The Sublime Object of Ideology is actually a pretty good book. It's quite difficult to understand, but it's pretty good. Did Zizek fall? I haven't kept up with him. Zizek's fine. He just says insane shit. He said that, like, Charlie Kirk was doing debate the right way, and Charlie Kirk would talk to anyone. I don't know. I don't know. Imagine getting hooked on benzos after writing a self-help book and being taken seriously. Yeah, also, I saw someone saying that, you know, because people kind of speculate what the hell is up with Jordan Peterson, because Jordan Peterson has genuinely fallen off the map. And I think Jordan Peterson is basically... Jordan Peterson probably has some kind of long-term issue from... going to sleep for a long time. Going to sleep for a long time, being put into a medically induced coma in Russia. I'm not sure that's so good for you. Apparently he has a neurological injury, Jordan Peterson. The last thing that I really heard from Jordan Peterson was when he tweeted, "Netanyahu, give him hell!" Dude is half dead. Yeah, there's definitely something up with him. Yeah, I think it probably is just hanging out in Russia and getting bad treatments. Jordan Peterson's not that old. Zizek is definitely older than Peterson, no? Jordan Peterson's 63. Zizek must be 70. Zizek's nearly 80. You ever see that old clip of Zizek talking about a dildo and a fleshlight having sex? No. Saw right through him right away. Wait, what coma was that? I just remember Chinese milking videos. Jordan Peterson was put in a medically induced coma so he could conquer his benzo addiction. That's not even a joke. I saw clavicular... There's someone who I followed because they did a couple of good tweets a while ago. And then they were talking about how clavicular is normalizing... Jeffrey Epstein, basically, because he's currently sailing to the island. Hey, Trove! Terror. Thank you for the $5. As much of a piece of shit Morris is, his documentation of the region is very good, and Norm... Oh, you're kidding me. And Norm often cites his works. Just sucks that he's a Zionist freak. Yeah, I mean, but thanks for the $5. He belongs to the class of the new historians in Israel, and he did do good research around the Nakba, and he does say sometimes interesting things. He just really has become a pro-Israel freak. He even quite regularly admits that, like, you know, Israel needs to do ethnic cleansing because that's what Israel is. Clean your room, bucko. God, if Jordan Peterson could see the room I'm in now, he'd go mental. Apparently Clavicular is working with the Israeli mafia. Interesting one. Well, Clavicular's on his way to Little St. James Island. He's taking some ladies to Little St. James Island. I really wish I could show this. It's got some shit music on, and he says on it, "You all right there? You right back there, ladies?" The guy's a nerd, basically. Early analysis, but I got to lean on Parenti for an actually accurate and comprehensive analysis in general. I like psychoanalysis, and I think it gives you a broader understanding of like why certain things happen, and I think people who followed in Zizek's footsteps are really interesting, particularly Todd McGowan and Ryan Engley and Mari Ruti. Mari Ruti didn't like Zizek as much in my understanding, and Joan Kopchak. Well, Joan Kopchak was more at the same time as Zizek, but she does not like Zizek particularly very much. I think she actually finds him quite unpleasant. But anyway, they all did really interesting work. The main problem with a lot of them is they're way too hyper-fixated on philosophy, and so they don't actually know broader things about the world. But that doesn't actually mean that you can't interpret their philosophy with stuff that you know more about than they do. I mean, wasn't Sam Harris just like one of those... What is Sam Harris? Isn't he just a neo-Orientalist? No. I don't think psychoanalysis is bullshit, and I think, like, certain things you don't even realise, like, how much that, like, how prominent or prevalent most of those things are in our society. Like, you know, negation, right? That's a thing that just comes straight from Freud. So, like, when everyone's like, oh, well, Melania is, you know, we know Melania's guilty most likely because she's talking about her... She's like, I do not have a relationship with Epstein. Negation is something that's developed by Freud, I believe. Where is he from, Zizek? Slovenia. And yeah, he is an Islamophobic hack. The whole thing that's so moronic about, like, their whole worldview is that Islam is this dogmatic, unchanging religion, which is just not the case. Like... They think that a 1,400-year-old religion that has never held the power or a relative power to the states that it confronts as the Catholic Church once did is somehow able to turn back the clocks of modernity. It is complete and utter bullshit. Every religion interacts and changes in relation to interacts and changes in relation to the modernity that it confronts. Well, but the thing is there are also non-Western psychoanalysts. So Nadia Bouali is really good. Nadia Bouali works at the Lebanese University, the American University of Beirut. She is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant academic, Nadia Bouali. And there are others. Her recent book is apparently really good, or the recent contribution on ecstasy is apparently pretty good. She's a very interesting character. She also has, her pieces in Parapraxis are really good. Ugly Enjoyment is brilliant, and there's another one, Living with Ghosts. I've not read On Helplessness. That one's probably good as well. Or Social Hell. I've read these two. Really, 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 really good. Even the Jedi Order changes its teachings over time. Anything interacting with the world changes. Just like creating narratives to explain things with no concrete methodology. But how do you explain anything about the world politically? There's nothing really that's that concrete about any of it. Like, all of these things about how we should understand the world, most of them just fall flat. What did Zizek have to say about Ukraine? I don't even know. Zizek, by the way, has made multiple moronic statements in recent years. But his older work doesn't need defending. It is really good. It is worth trying to engage with. It's really, really, really interesting. But it can also... Like, Zizek's book does explain, like, pretty well some phenomenon that I don't think science maybe could as well. So, for example, La Boubou, The Wreck of the Titan, he explains really well. If you've never read that, Futility or The Wreck of the Titan, which is basically this book that came out pre-Titanic and basically was about it predicted it, basically. Nah, Chris, you're wrong. Schizoanalysis, Mog psychoanalysis, Deleuze and Guattari for life. I've never read that. I know like basic things about rhizomic thinking and all of this stuff. My friend always used to talk about it all the time, but I've never read what's their Anti-Oedipus? Is that their famous book? I mean, Zizek has also written huge amounts of books, so Zizek needed to leave the football before the football left him. I mean, maybe, but look at Casemiro, mate. Look at what Jamie Carragher was saying about fucking Casemiro, and look about Casemiro's resurgence. Who knows? Zizek might come out with some very base stuff recently. And also, thank you for the £5, Gregory. Anti-Oedipus. Anti-Octopus. I quite like octopi. Brilliant. Yeah, it is actually impressive how many books he puts out. Anyway, let's move on. So, in perhaps the most interesting story we've had in recent weeks relating to Israel, Israel has been stealing Ukrainian grain. There's actually not much reporting on this. I was seeing if there was a little YouTube video I could get you up. But, I mean... Look at this one! Look at this AI thumbnail where Zelensky has been, like, beaten up and has been given true... What wrong with Zelensky's eyes in there? Ukraine demands Israel to stop... What's TSN Social? What? Yeah, but it looks like Zelensky's been beaten up. Anyway, let's move on. Well, I mean, is there anything Israel won't steal? Well, Israel heard occupied... Wait, goods stolen from occupied territory? Yes, please. But there's been like a whole diplomatic beef going on with this. So this is what Zelensky tweeted. In any normal country, purchasing stolen goods is an act that entails legal liability. This applies in particular to grain stolen by Russia. I bet you anything, by the way, that Ukraine probably imports from the occupied territories, if I were to guess. Another vessel carrying such grain has arrived at a port in Israel and is preparing to unload. This is not and cannot be legitimate business. The Israeli authorities cannot be unaware of which ships are arriving at the country's ports and what cargo they are carrying. So basically... There was a great long-read piece. Haaretz did an investigation into this. You can check it out. It's called Exposed: How Ukrainian Wheat Stolen by the Russians is Ending Up in Israel. So this stuff is also, by the way, ending up more in Turkey and Syria, or it was previously in Syria. It won't be ending up in Syria now. Syria is obviously not as close with Russia anymore, and drawing itself closer to Ukraine, trying to align with it. Turkey and Iran. Iran's taking some of this as well. But those are all countries like aligned with Russia or much more aligned with Russia than Israel is. It's also really funny. This is like 9/11 for people who have the Ukraine flag and the Israel flag in their bio. It's not good. It's not good for people who have those together. Ukrainian leadership have been such cuckolds re Israel. They could have only dreamed of the amount of material support the Israelis have received when their enemy is underage children versus an actual semi-competent military from a country nearly 8 times the size. Yeah, and I mean how... I mean also how, like... How much Israel got when it literally is not even that useful. To the like, in comparison to Gulf countries, Israel has nowhere near the use economically. And sorry, yeah, you can have a link, but I'm not sending you the link that's like archive.ph just in case it gets me in trouble. Yes, I'm linking it now. There you go. So it's just a Haaretz piece on how Ukrainian wheat is being stolen. It's really, really, really interesting. I'd recommend you read it. It is quite long. But this ship called the Abinsk came over to Israel on Sunday night. And the major issue is that the Kiev basically warned them. Or Chicken Kiev. Do you remember when they did that? If you lived in the UK, loads of supermarkets changed the name from Chicken Kiev to Chicken Kievs. But yeah, it's Engelsimp. Thank you, Chris. I've seen you on Instagram before, but I just found you randomly on Twitch today. Awesome. I'm glad you found me randomly. That's really interesting. Thanks for checking me out, and thanks for supporting me. But yeah, the Ukrainians told Israel you can't accept this, and the Israelis fucking accepted it anyway. Israel since 2021 has taken 31 shipments of grain. It's over 30 shipments. Haaretz's investigation is crazy. They somehow got access to Russian port records, and they basically just said that they're taking huge amounts. Now, what this article does point out is that because these ships are turning off their AIS tracking systems, because these ships are like receiving it, they're loading whilst they're in the middle of the sea, they're having small boats bringing it over to them. Theoretically, the Iranians the Israelis could not have known where this was coming from and whether this was actually stolen Ukrainian grain. Apparently they're just told, oh, it comes from Crimea, has nothing to do with being stolen. But yeah, it's that's not the case. Israel is basically getting stolen. It's stolen grain, basically. Israel has been taking this stolen grain. It's a pretty crazy story, because I feel like the main thing that I sort of think about again is like, first of all, I'm not surprised that Iran, Syria, and Turkey were taking this so much closer to Russia, would also easily turn a blind eye to this stuff. But Israel taking this is mental because of obviously how close they are with Europe. They literally shoot babies. Why would they not? Because I don't even think it's a question of morality. It's just this thing of like, Ukraine produces the best anti-drone technology. Israeli soldiers are currently getting blown up by drones, and this was always going to be a problem. I guess the assumption is kind of, as Nixon put it, that the Ukrainians are just too weak or too pathetic on Israel to do anything, that the Ukrainians will not stand up, that the Ukrainians basically will just eventually sweep this under the rug, or the Israelis will say, oh, I'm not, we're not talking about this anymore, we're not doing this stuff anymore, and blah, 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 blah. And that it'll just kind of go away. But I don't really get this. Like, spitting in the face of the Ukrainians when they're like the best tested in drone warfare and the most competent on it, and have also held influence apparently in the HTS victory in Syria, Ukrainian drone teams, and also allegedly in Mali as well. Apparently there's some kind of influence over there. Why you would do that is kind of crazy. And maybe it is just that the Ukrainians are puppets. Maybe it is that they're just being, that they don't have sovereignty. Maybe it is that it's okay to just spit in their faces. But this feels pretty crazy to do it so brazenly. Like, okay, yeah, theoretically this happens. You can say, I couldn't trace the wheat. I didn't know where the wheat was from. That's why. But when the Ukrainians have like said, hey, this is stolen from our occupied land, you would think that the Israelis would probably be like, yeah, it's just not worth it. But one thing that counteracts that is also that Russia is maybe just way more important than it's just probably way more important than Israel is. Than Ukraine is, excuse me. That Russia matters more. Just a reminder, Russia is single-handedly saving Israel's agriculture. Almost every single country in the world is complicit in Israel's Holocaust of Palestinians. So we'll watch this. This is from Israeli news television. I'll move myself up here so you can see the subtitles. This video is also really loud and I don't know why. Most of the Israeli produce from our sector.
הישראלית מהענף שלנו הייתה מיועדת בדרך כלל ליפן ולקוריאה לכל המדינות במזרח. אוקיי. ונכון לעכשיו יש לנו את הבעיה הלוגיסטית מול החות'ים.
Kind of interesting, by the way, as well as the Houthis as the Houthis, like, just kind of mentioning what the Houthis have managed to do. To be honest, my sympathy towards the Ukraine is limited due to a multitude of reasons. Work with someone who every sensible person knows will betray you, and then wondering why you got betrayed. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Part of me, I understand what you're saying, but also part of me feels like that explanation I don't love, because obviously Kurds have suffered a lot, and it's kind of like, what do you do in that situation when you get invaded, you know? Ukraine is a broken state right now. Yeah, but I do understand that, but I don't know, that point about, like, people who are really competent in drone warfare, I don't know.
וכל הקווים הלוגיסטיים השתנו.
כי מה? כי צריך לנסוע בנתיב אחר?
נתיב אחר, בדיוק.
שהוא יותר יקר.
שהוא יותר יקר ויותר ארוך. הגיעו מכולות אחרי 90.
Also, by the way, are these guys just all Thai who do this work? Or like from Southeast Asia? Kind of looks like everyone doing the work here is Southeast Asian, no? Or at least from, like, yeah, I don't know, or from Asia. I guess the Middle East is in Asia, so.
הם הגיעו עם בעיות איכות גדולות. הבעיות איכות בעצם מוכרות את כל הפדיון. וכולם מציעים את הסחורה שהם ארזו לשוק העיקרי שהוא נשאר, זה רוסיה.
אז זה בדרך לרוסיה.
זה בדרך לרוסיה.
ובעיקר אתה מצפה לא להפסיד.
להפסיד אני אפסיד בתור מגדל, אבל לפחות את ההוצאות של הבית אריזה אני לא אפסיד. שנה שעברה זרקתי 700 משטחים כאלה לפרות.
אז אפשר לומר...
Also, just want to kind of say something of just quite significant note here, excuse me, is that the major kind of thing with all of this is that the Israeli economy was clearly so badly affected by the Houthis. Kind of crazy that the Israeli agricultural industry was so badly affected by this. And of course, by the way, I do know that there are a lot of foreign workers. Israel used to operate the kafala system until not long ago. Also, guys, give me 1 second. I just need to go fix my blind or else the light's going to start fucking me. Don't post chair emojis or whatever the hell you're going to do. I'm up a step ladder and it's not a chair. See? I fixed that. Please don't fall like AB did. I did not fall. I was up there. I was going crazy up there. I was putting the blind up. Yeah.
שרוסיה זה השוק היחיד
היום עדיין מדבר איתנו. באירופה, לעומת זאת, זה פחות. באירופה רק אם חסר להם משהו הם קונים איתנו. אם יש להם אלטרנטיבה, הם נמנעים מלקנות.
וזה בשונה ממה שהיה פעם.
שונה.
Did you wash your hands, bub? Yeah, I went up a ladder to pee pee myself. Insanity. You guys are sick and twisted. Israel operated the kafala system. Across the whole country. They used to have it. It's literally on the front page of the Wikipedia. A similar binding system existed in Israel until 2006 when the Israeli Supreme Court eliminated it. Not enough of an expert in it, but they did have it. But yeah, I mean, obviously, this probably just boils down to Russia props up the Israeli economy. This is a really cheap way to get grain. And so the Israelis just don't give a fuck. And they're just like, yep, we're going to spit in your face. Because, you know, as I said previously, they could have made this claim that they just didn't know where it was coming from, that they were lied to, that they were tricked, that might be it. But yeah. Chris, why do you think the fact that Israel has friendly relations with both Russia and the United States do not drive a bigger wedge between each of those countries' relationship to Israel? I mean, because ultimately the US cares about Israel doing well and it having a relationship with, you know, the United States, it having a relationship with Russia enables it to strengthen itself, and so it allows it to do it. There are plenty of countries, by the way, that the US is very, very, very close with, that it doesn't care about their relationships with Russia or China. Good examples are the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates has strong relationships with Russia and China, and they don't care about it. There are many countries that are actually like this. It's just kind of like a tacit agreement, even though they're fighting like a kind of cold proxy war right now, or the US previously was, under Trump, not so much. And yes, by the way, Israel's also, part of Israel's population are just Russians. They're not even Jewish under Israeli law. It's not everyone, but there are a decent-ish number of people who are literally, who are literally just not Israeli. This is true. You can look up the Soviet Jewish people who went over. We literally looked it up yesterday. Anyway, back to Zelensky. Russia is systematically seizing grain on temporarily occupied Ukrainian land, organizing its export through individuals linked to the occupiers. Such schemes violate the laws of the State of Israel itself. Ukraine has taken all necessary steps through diplomatic channels to prevent such incidents. However, we see that yet another such vessel has not been stopped. I've instructed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine to inform all partners of our state about the situation. Based on information from our intelligence services, Ukraine is preparing a relevant sanctions package that will cover both those directly transporting this grain and the individuals and legal entities attempting to profit from this criminal scheme. We will also coordinate with European partners to ensure that the relevant individuals are included in European sanctions regimes. Ukraine counts on partnerships with mutual respect with every state. We are genuinely working to enhance security, particularly in the Middle East. We expect that the Israeli authorities will respect Ukraine. By the way, also, I'm sure this is here, support the genocidal for a genocidal apartheid state not working as planned. What a shock. Oh, this is him just tweeting the same thing in Ukrainian. I'm not reading that. It's literally the same thing. But yeah, this Twitter beef has gone further. So, Andriy Sibia? The Biden and now Trump admins are working on changing many of those dual allegiance. You're with us or you're with China. I'm not sure there's much that they can do. I don't think you can wrestle people back from China. I think it's tough. I think it's really, really, really tough. The reason is usually these foreigners have rights. It's incompetence of the law. What? I mean, the kafala system is kind of like modern slavery. I do think if you bring someone over to your country and they're basically bound to you where you have control over their immigration to your country, that it is kind of like, slavery. And no, I don't do the word every day anymore. I might do it at the end. I don't know which way Ukraine voted on reparations. Anyway, this is Ukraine's foreign minister. Friendly Ukrainian... La Bubu. Okay, hold on. I know the Russians that get tired of living abroad because of the war say, well, I can just move to Israel and do so. More rights than Palestinians. I mean, there's such a big Russian speaking community in Israel. That doesn't really surprise me. You could probably get away with pretty much just speaking Russian there. I mean, there are tons of people right there who just end up speaking English and can't speak Hebrew, no? So you could do the same with Russian. Thanks for the $5, Angel Scott. That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that they all said that, though. I mean, work visas are also like kafala systems. Yeah, I think it's just the degree of control. There are a lot of things that are similar to this. You know, we talked about, when we were debating this kind of stuff, we were talking about how, you know, the American day laborer kind of stuff actually... actually is sort of quite similar to, what the kafala system is in many ways. But it's just how you are, like, basically tied to one specific person who has full control over it. The Wordle stream routine hasn't been here for ages, and I've seen that statistic, 100% of foreign workers. It's apparently Thai agricultural workers specifically who, it's a 2021 report. 100% workers were sexually assaulted. They're being exposed to sexual assault. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, US seasonal farm workers, I think, are probably the most like it. Because it's kind of just this thing where you're entirely reliant on one person who can just exploit you and has control over your relations. Anyway, just quickly to go back to the foreign minister, who we've not been getting here. Friendly Ukrainian-Israeli relations have the potential to benefit both countries, and Russia's illegal trade with stolen Ukrainian grain should not undermine them. Also, just quickly to note, Europe probably will jump into action and will sanction Israeli businessmen on this basis. It probably will do this kind of stuff. And they probably will sanction them. But obviously Israel is doing this kind of stuff with Palestinians, goods like grown in Palestinian land, and premised off stealing water, land, and freedom of movement from Palestinians to do exactly that, and also by crippling the export industry from Gaza. It's like when someone tells you Gaza could have been different. Israel has total control over their exports. Gaza was always going to be defined by what Israel wanted, which was never anything similar to a state. And Germany probably won't block this stuff, by the way, because what they'll do is they're going to sanction Israeli oligarchs and businessmen, and that is probably what it'll be. It is difficult to understand Israel's lack of appropriate response to Ukraine's legitimate request regarding the previous vessel that delivered stolen goods to Haifa. Now that another such vessel has arrived in Haifa, we are once again warn Israel against accepting the stolen grain and harming our relations. In this context, we have already officially summoned the Israeli ambassador tomorrow morning to present our protest. And then there's this guy. What the fuck friendly relations you're talking about? You were killing them consistently for years with UN votes. Ukraine is awesome. Its foreign policy bureaucrats like you are a disgrace. Tech, science, windsurfing in war mode now. Forces of light will prevail. Okay, bro. Dear Minister, diplomatic relations, especially between friendly nations, are not conducted on Twitter or in the media. Allegations are not evidence. Evidence substantiating the allegations have yet to be provided. By the way, all of this evidence is provided. You did not even submit a request for legal assistance before turning to the media and social media networks. The matter will be examined. Israel is a state that abides by the rule of law with independent law. Enforcement authorities. All Israeli authorities will act in accordance with the law. By the way, this just isn't true. You can read the long-form Haaretz piece if you want. It's basically just a long summary about how you can just look at satellite imagery and it confirms that Israel has taken 30 of these shipments. Sitting there and being so rude to just like the Ukrainians is just comical, because obviously this is the case. The kafala is like instituted, and it's like a legal instituted thing, whereas there's a bit more legal grey area with the American sort of stuff. There was a $1 billion farm slave ring busted under Biden. When Trump got in office, he passed an executive order to make such slave labor mafia organizations nearly impossible to prosecute. Of course he did, because the US construction industry relies entirely on this kind of stuff. A lot of these major corporations straight up know they are hiring trafficked slaves. They didn't care before, and especially don't care now that Trump gives them the green light. Yeah, slaves who they can exploit and abuse. It's just, I mean, all of this is just outrageous. being exploited. The way my dad talks about some of his early work experience is so disconcerting to me. He told me about a time when he was still undocumented and he fell off a ladder at his construction job. All he could talk about was how lucky he was not to get injured and how kind it was of his employer to have given him a job in the first place. He seemed confused as to why I didn't see that as a heartwarming story. Yeah, I don't understand why. What a beautiful story when you fall off the ladder and don't get injured. We all love falling off ladders. And also, Zelensky was accusing Israel of breaking their own law, basically. And so, yeah, this has morphed into a diplomatic incident. And earlier today, the Ukrainians struck Russian oil. And by the way, the Ukrainians ministry of... The Ukrainian Ministry of Defense was engaging in some stuff that I did not like. They posted something that, in fact, I really, really did not like. They posted an edit that's related to Apocalypse Now. They're, like, copying Ministry of Defense Ukraine. I can't find it. I don't know what their Twitter account is, but they posted this thing of Russian oil burning and going, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Nothing else in the world smells like that. You know that gasoline smell? Smells like victory. Kafala only exists in the GCC today, right? No. So, it also exists in Lebanon. I think Lebanon is the only place with a formal kafala system existing. Jordan has it as well, actually, apparently. Especially in the Arabian Peninsula. Jordan, Kuwait also are very prominent. Some of the shit going on in these countries, by the way, the Kuwaitis have this insane policy of denaturalization where they keep turning people into people without documents called bidoon. You should look into it. They do it against people they don't like. I fell off the ladder once and went on a 3-day bender. Nice, Killian. If it's not a Lego video, I don't care. Yeah, I mean, the Lego videos are certainly better. I find the Lego videos better than the Defense of Ukraine. That's what it's called. I certainly find them better than this. I'll show you the video. I didn't like it. It's this.
You smell that? You smell that? Napalm, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that.
That gasoline smell.
Smells like
victory.
Victory.
By the way, incredible acting by Duval. Duval was a bit of a right winger though, but it's really good. Also, Russian billionaire's yacht. The Russian billionaire's yacht going through the Strait of Hormuz doesn't surprise me. The Iranians have good relations with the Russians. It really bothers me how happy people are about any death or destruction associated with Russia. Obviously, still fuck Putin. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of turning into like just a situation of... I don't think also that those people realize, like, the bloodier, the more people dying just makes the Ukraine war way harder to end. And they're just like, yep, I love that. Like, you know, yeah. And, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is also lazy production value. Great point. Right, but that is the end of that. That's the end of that little segment. Okay, we got a few other pretty major news stories today, which are... Oh, actually, I did just want to throw this on for a bit of fun. Our boy Lindsay is talking about... Lindsey Graham's talking good shit.
No one's arguing against reevaluating some of the...
Hold on. Henry would love me doing this.
Security around the Correspondence Center, but that is a private event at a private location from a private organization. It's not held by the White House, and it had twice as many...
I know who the Azov Battalion are, by the way. I know that they're like ultra-nationalist, Nazis, basically, right?
Many guests says this proposed ballroom would hold, so why do you find it appropriate to link these two events so closely?
Well, I find it appropriate if you're going to have the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the Speaker of the House, and half the cabinet in a room, the room matters. And the idea that you can't do this in the ballroom will be up to the Correspondents Association. It is insane to do this.
By the way, if you didn't hear what she's saying, she made a really good point. She was basically just like, you're using this as like a situation to justify building the ballroom, right? But this wasn't organized by the White House, and this event would held more people, double the people, I think, nearly, that it would hold.
Again, anybody who suggests that we have an event like this in the times in which we live, in a facility like Hilton, that's crazy. We're going to have to accommodate the times in which we live. And Eric, you nailed it. There are people out there that are nuts, being driven to take up violence is an acceptable outcome in too many people's opinion. So no, we're going to build this facility, and I would suggest to the next president, don't go to the Hilton. Don't do an event at the Hilton or any other facility outside the White House, given the times in which we live. The problem is you don't have a choice. We're going to give people that choice. And if you want to vote no, vote no. I want you to go home and tell the American people why you take off the table an option to have 1,000 or 2 people come to the White House grounds, the safest place we can find, to enjoy themselves.
By the way, also very obvious that it was just this came down to the security being so moronic. And yeah, this gentleman loves Israel.
And underneath there will be things that are not about enjoyment, but about national security. There'll be a Secret Service annex to it. So the need is real.
I like the way that this guy says violence. I like the way this man says everything. Hold on, I got a message I need to respond to. But yeah, they've all been talking about the fucking ballroom today. I guess this is the payback for, I guess this is the payback for bombing Iran. Lindsay has to grovel to him for a ballroom about Israel. Well, yeah, you missed out. You did miss out on a great clip. Maybe Trump bought him that bubble wand over at Disney.
One electrical cord to the question to what we're talking about today. Why are we here? The Democrats have used rhetoric referring to ICE agents as the Gestapo, Trump's secret police. Yep. They can't help themselves. Like, this is a real sickness. And what we're saying is this.
I mean, the Democrats are certainly afflicted by sickness, 100%. The Democrats are afflicted by many sicknesses, and their support of Israel is certainly one of those. But yeah, I don't know.
It has to be addressed. At a minimum, we have to have a safe place to protect the President of the United States and the cabinet officials if they want to gather, or there's a state dinner, or a crowd more than like 100 people. But
by the way, this is also really funny because Trump has conducted so much business historically at Mar-a-Lago, presidential business, and Mar-a-Lago is not a safe place to be doing that at all. And now they're like, yeah, he needs this ballroom for safety. It's actually really, really funny that this is like what American politics boils down to.
This is now, in order to appease the more radicalized base, the language that comes out on the Senate floor, I'm not talking about on like Morning Joe, like on the Senate floor. You guys are there, you hear this. This is well beyond what has been acceptable forever. And we're at where we're at. And let me tie it real quick.
I like this guy. By the way, someone pointed out, someone made like a side-by-side video.
And when
wait. Someone just talked about Trump's rhetoric and like all of the things. I can't actually find it right now. Oh, wait, here it is. This is Teo's video.
Are indeed the enemy from within, but this is who we're fighting. We will fascist and the radical.
Something wrong. They're like terrorists.
I think, by the way, fuck these people. They're putting on copyrighted music on their videos so you can't watch it on stream. It's actually disgusting. It's really, really ridiculous and frustrating. I'm not going to play it because fuck that. I'm not having Zateo demonetize my fucking stream. Utter bullshit as well. Mehdi Hassan needs more money. Yeah, right. Actual, you know what? That fucking pisses me off. All of these news organizations that put music on their videos. Copyrighted music. Ugh. On videos that are freely available to the public that what some guys edited together. Whoop-de-fucking-do.
What are your thoughts on some of the discussions about the ballroom and being included in the
I'm working on legislation to ensure that we are getting the ballroom funded. It's obviously a national security element to that, and it needs to be done. I cannot believe that a judge allowed a woman he approved her lawsuit because she walked by with her dog and thought it was ugly.
Is there any better use for taxpayer dollars than a ballroom?
Are you kidding? There's like hardly any money here that is actually going to that. He has got it. He has it funded. We just have to.
I also really like the thing that if Trump really wanted this, he could just pay out of the money that he's probably made during this administration specifically, but he's not going to.
Get it approved to get the lawsuit over with.
Is it an issue of like the Congressional Registry of Historic Places? Like what's the authorization process there?
You think passing a War Powers Resolution Act to save?
I know. It's also $200 million that he could just pay for. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I genuinely don't know. The ballroom is a matter of national security. It's definitely a more interesting thing. That's what the angle they've been going for a while. Anyway, right. In slightly more important news, oil prices are spiking. Oil prices are now pretty oh my god, stop. Oil prices are now pretty close to their max again. So, guys, good things are happening with the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. $112 are currently what oil prices are sitting at. The max during the of the Brent crude was $119.50 during $119.50. So it is $7 currently off the previous highest oil prices. And now we are back at the top. But don't worry. Really good stuff is coming out of this.
Revealing that its profits, BP has come under fire after revealing that its profits more than doubled in the first 3 months of the year, thanks to the soaring cost of crude oil caused by the Iran war. The London-based multinational said its profits surged by over 130% to £2.4 billion between January and March. Campaigners accuse the group of profiting at the expense of households who have seen prices rocket at the pumps and are set to...
By the way, it is just actually incredible how you can do that. Incredible how you can do that. Like, who pays for Lockheed Martin? Sure thing, the military budget has nothing to do with Lockheed having... I mean, yeah, it's also the thing with the Iraq war. We wasted $3 trillion and sacrificed American lives. Where did the $3 trillion go, bro? Where did all of that money go? Because it didn't disappear, did it? Certain people made stacks on stacks on stacks of money that we can't even conceive of.
See energy bills jump when the price cap is updated on July the 1st. BP has come in...
It's so great how BP are up 130% profits for shareholders, but, you know, average poor people, I've been reading some libbed out centrist book on, like, diagnosing Britain's problems that's kind of okay. But I just read it because I kind of trying to get better at understanding economics, and it's fine. It's just like, but they were talking basically about how we need to reframe conversations, just at the introduction, of we need to reframe conversations about disposable income, basically, and not have it so that it's just about GDP or household incomes. And the reason Britain feels like it's crumbling is just because, like, every single thing is being eaten into. Like, our basic necessities, transport is becoming way too expensive, and that has, like, consequences, especially gender related. It specifically affects women. You know, it's yeah. What was BP's original name? It's the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, no? Isn't it? What is the Dow? Dow futures. No, Dow is actually nearly at 50k. Dow futures are at 49,427. The Dow is actually nearly up over 40k. So yeah. But with oil prices collapsing, never fear, negotiations are here. It seems to me that whenever oil prices start spiking, Iran collapses. They're ready for negotiations. They're begging the US. So here's what Donald J. Trump has said. Iran has just informed us that they are in a state of collapse. They want us to open the Hormuz Strait as soon as possible as they try to figure out their leadership situation, which I believe they will be able to do. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Love this. Love this. Trains in the UK are dog shit, yes. Yes, trains in the UK are complete dog shit. Trains in the UK suck so badly. I mean, in my recent lifetime, since I was 19, they've increased so much in price, and they've got so much worse. One thing that infuriates me is someone when they're like, it's still cheaper than driving. It's just not. It's just not. If you have another person with you, it's not worth buying them. It's just straight up not worth buying a train ticket. Also, by the way, Air India, Indigo, and SpiceJet are warning that the airline industry is on the verge of stopping due to oil prices. So that's multiple large Indian news airlines. Also, Europe is already experiencing a certain degree of concern at the governmental level about the supply of oil and other fuels. Several countries in different ways have been intimating that they fear a shortage of different kinds of oil cropping up in the next few months. Certainly, the Swedes were the latest to express a degree of concern. Their economy minister was speaking precisely about the topic earlier today, saying that the jet fuel is something to really be concerned about. I mean, it's very obvious that Iran is not collapsing, that Iran is causing major issues. And Chris, are you middle class? Yes, most definitely. Also, by the way, you asked for something that's provable about psychoanalysis. How about the concept of males' obsessions with their mother? All I'm saying, there's a reason that the concept of the MILF is so popular. So, Freud did get that damn right. Last week, Lufthansa cancelled 20,000 flights, right? All of these things being so foreseeable makes it all crazier that people like Merz were cheering on this war in the first few weeks. I know. It is true. And also, Chris, what are you trying to say? Freud was right about that men are obsessed with their mothers? Like, why do you think MILF is such a popular category? That's bourgeois, yeah. I'm not being a MILF, just in case you know. It's just like people are really obsessed with that. And I think if you're denying that, you're not confronting a very important reality. Like, who diagnosed that? Freud. He also wrote a ton of stuff like that. I've meant to read Civilization and its discontents for so long. And that snapped me back in. But that's why you've always got to be paying attention to the Chris Kunster live stream. It is incredibly important. And I know the Merz saying that he was humiliated is just insane. Chris, you do know that the MILF isn't your own mother. Yeah, but it's still like what he was basically saying, like kind of how people just have this sort of obsession with mothers. And of course it's not your own mother because that's taboo. That's not something that's acceptable. And so what do? You transpose that onto another kind of maternal figure, which is the MILF. And it's so popular in American. I know plenty of guys who hate their mother. And of course. But there are so many people who are obsessed with the MILF. It is probably one of the most, if not the most popular categories of pornography. It probably is. Right, I've searched this and it's... oh, Christ almighty. I'm not actually looking at this. I'm not looking at this because it just came straight up with something that I'm not going to click on. Freud was discredited ages ago. Not entirely. A lot of people discredit him in a way that's kind of foolish. Like, he definitely said stuff that's very, very, very important and mattered a lot. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Isn't that what Nux Taku used to do? Just, like, straight up reacting to pornography. I mean, probably he would have, because it's like a way of engaging with the taboo that's kind of morally acceptable, so he probably would have predicted it, but even then, you know, no one could have predicted it. I did not type in big milking, no. Apparently that's a blocked word. I used to only consider men 35 plus until I turned 30. Well, I'm a man. Chris doing an Aiden Ross stream, pulling that up. Yeah. No. Nothing auto-completed. Nuxtaku reacted to simulated CSAM. Interesting. I did not know that. I do not watch pornography. I do not consume it. It's called transference. It's because of childhood trauma. Freud was a douche, but he wasn't entirely wrong. That's the point. But that's like... how much of that he, like, said and did. And also, by the way, penis envy is actually a really interesting topic, especially when it's updated by people like Mari Ruti. And Mari Ruti is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant philosopher. Mari Ruti is fantastic, in fact. And if you're like, oh, Freud's a misogynist, go read Mari Ruti. Mari Ruti literally details that in Penis Envy and Other Bad Feelings. She was like, I threw away Freud and discarded him when I started my work. I thought that he was this kind of like, that he was this kind of, I don't know, this guy who was basically like misogynist, but when you kind of look and try and update his work, it's interesting. These things are all stupid. They're not, though. Penis envy is this really interesting concept when you talk of it more as the phallic as something that's symbolic. It is way, way, way more interesting when it's that. And you basically do envy, and men can experience penis envy in a sense. You gotta show me first. Yeah. And we live in like a male-dominated society. Why would you not experience penis envy? Like, why wouldn't you? Like, we live in this male-dominated society. It's the phallic symbol. Has Lenin ever said anything about Freud? I don't know if there was any interaction with it. But is everything not... what would not be a generalization about anything? And it's not about generalizing a whole... it's not about generalizing a whole gender at all. That's not the point. The point of what Mari Ruti is saying is that we live in like a male-dominated society, and rather than the literal phallus, it is the physical, it is the symbolic phallus. Either I get laid or often, or I watch pornography. Well, first of all, I have a girlfriend. Yes, and I think psychoanalysis would talk about that everyone has unique desires and wishes. But we always talk about this, like, big swinging dick, like all of this commentary about, like, you know, phallic symbols in society. These are vague concepts, but everything's a pretty vague concept. Like, the word colonialism is a pretty broad descriptor for a multitude of different things. Like a multitude of different things across a vast... it's a vague descriptor of relationships that differed across a multitude of different contexts and has also changed in the world in which we live. Like, saying it's vague, I'm not sure that's like as just like a good idea. And I don't think it really makes sense. Most of Freud's terminology is not very well understood, so people think he is literal when most of the controversial terms are symbolic. I mean, yes. But what's vague about, like... I would highly recommend reading the works of people like Mari Ruti. I would highly recommend reading the works of Mari Ruti. I think Mari Ruti is fucking brilliant. I think her work is awesome. I think it's one of the best books I've read in recent years. Colonialism is literally defined by physical actions. But it's defined by so many different physical actions that it's just a broad and somewhat vague subject, no? Like, this concept of what it specifically describes, though. Is it settler colonialism? Is it classical colonialism? What are the differences between settler colonialism and all of these things? They're all just theories, right? There are issues with the term settler colonialism, no? So in terms of settler colonialism, how does Israel fit into settler colonialism when Israel changed to like a racial Fordist economy that welcomed in more Palestinians, which moved it away from elimination to some extent, but ultimately the elimination has never ever really gone away? And also, by the way, if you're just dismissing psychoanalysis out of hand, you'd have to dismiss The Wretched of the Earth. The Wretched of the Earth is a brilliant example of psychoanalysis. It's a brilliant example of psychoanalysis used on to sort of describe and understand colonialism. I think it's really, really, really interesting. Penis envy is not the same as, I'm not even gonna type that acronym. I don't know what you mean there. Once saw Freud's work compared to someone giving a very wrong answer to a question asked in an internet forum, causing a dozen people to jump in and give more useful, correct answers to counter the bad ideas. In some ways, but still, people rely on this work heavily. I mean, yes, it's a theory of philosophy, but I think things that come from it, like, I think the racist fantasy is a really, really, really interesting way of understanding broad categories of racist ideologies that are across different examples. But the point vis-a-vis, that is the main difference between colonies for like colonies being for extraction and settler colonies are for extraction and population replacement. Yes, but largely the point made by lots is that the settler colony is more specifically relates to elimination. That's like it, basically. Just more specifically that's the goal rather than exploitation. The native doesn't really have a problem or cause a problem. In patriarchal and cisnormative societies, certain symbols consistent in that socialization would have psychological weight for people in general. And I think that's the point. That's the point that Mari Ruti makes as well, that actually goes for both men and women, that we kind of assume that powerful individuals have, like, big penises and stuff. Like, literally, the term big swinging dick. If you have definitions for every state of mind, you stop asking questions. You literally have definitions of why pre-built inside your head, so you know the inside of someone else's heart. But I don't think that's the point that most psychoanalysts make. And the point about vis-a-vis, like, the MILF and stuff is like a diagnosis of something that is very prevalent in American society. Mari Ruti, yes. Her best book that I've read is Lacan and the Immortal Being Within is quite hard to get into, but her best book is Penis Envy and Other Bad Feelings. Anyway, right, we've kind of detracted from whatever I was talking about previously, so let's get back to the actual stream. What were we talking about? Oh, oil prices rising. Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to talk about with this... I can't clear my throat right now. Freud intermission. Well, what can you do? God. Right, I'm just gonna move on because otherwise we're gonna be talking about this all stream, and it's hard to have a conversation in chat with like multiple people sending different things. Okay, right, like a philosophical conversation at least, that is. USA wants to penetrate the Hormuz Sea. Someone did actually mention that kind of obsession with sexual language in recent years with the behavior of certain governments. The US sort of talks about this in many different ways. Right, anyway. Right. Okay, right. What are we talking about? Sorry, I hate it when we do this, because now I've just completely lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah, actually, I wanted to cover this. The UAE has left OPEC. I keep saying APAC instead of OPEC because I don't know. I don't really talk about OPEC or really read about OPEC very much anymore. This is actually pretty major. So if you don't know, the OPEC was an organization formed in the 1970s. It is basically the major oil producers. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. It is basically led by Saudi Arabia, but now those questions are really, really, really major and really, really significant. Anyway, the UAE today announced its decision to exit the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and OPEC Plus, effective 1st of May. This decision reflects the UAE's long-term strategic and economic vision, evolving energy profile, including accelerated investment in domestic energy production, and reinforces its commitment to a responsible, reliable, and forward-looking role in the global energy markets. This decision follows a comprehensive review of the UAE's production policy, its current and future capacity, and is based on our national interest and our commitment to contributing effectively to meeting the market's pressing needs. So the major issue here basically is the second biggest oil producing nation has just left OPEC, and the reason they've left it is not really clear. I mean, I think it's to do with Saudi Arabia not being able to normalize with Israel. So Saudi Arabia is never going to be able to normalize with Israel because, first of all, Saudi Arabia is obviously a way more important country to the Muslim world than Israel is. Saudi Arabia claims to be the defenders of the holy sites. It claims to be the defender of the holy sites. It's still pending. No, they've left. They've left. They're leaving in, 2 days? It's not pending. They're leaving OPEC. I don't know why you say that they're potentially leaving OPEC. They've left OPEC. This is just them announcing it. It's not pending. This is happening in 3 days. So Saudi Arabia's legitimacy, if you don't know, comes from basically being the protector of the two holiest sites in Islam, Mecca and Medina, and obviously through the Hajj, the pilgrimage once a year. And so Saudi Arabia is in a way more complex situation than the UAE is. The UAE has about 5 people who live there who are actually Emiratis. The majority of people who inhabit the United Arab Emirates are actually foreign workers from either Southeast Asia or people from the rest of the world. From people from the rest of the world, people from European nations who go over and don't want to pay tax, basically. What you mean claiming? They're right there in the country. That's what its legitimacy comes from. And basically, yes, Saudi Arabia should probably talk to Israel about Al-Aqsa. Right. Saudi Arabia doesn't do enough, but the notion that Saudi Arabia can just, I don't know, accept Israel and sort of just abandon Al-Aqsa doesn't really work. They have way too large a population. Islam plays way too big of a role in their society. And also, they're probably part of the new Middle East defining thing, which is what the Israelis called the Ikhwan axis, the axis of Ikhwan. The axis of Ikhwan refers to the brotherhood, as in the Muslim Brotherhood. That's what they go by in certain countries. Saudi Arabia is too close to Turkey. Pakistan they also have a relationship with now. And the other country is Syria. Obviously, the fall of Syria was bad for Iran, but the fall of Syria has been a blessing for Turkey in building up strength in the rest of the region. It's just a joke. It's not disrespectful to make a joke about the fact that there are not many people who live in the UAE who are actually part of it. It's just a small country. It's not being disrespectful. It's also a play on how much of a how large the population is of the UAE of just foreigners who are not from that country. Anyway, Turkey being in NATO is so wild to me. Yeah, why was it put in there? What, because it was seen as like an anti-communist bastion, and also what, because of its the Black Sea, right? And the Bosphorus. Is that the entire reason, excuse me? Like just the Black Sea? The Black Sea is not even a sea, is it? I guess Black Sea and borders with Georgia and like Azerbaijan and Armenia was probably the key reason, realistically. It was a buffer to Syria. Turkey is the most geopolitically confusing country in the world, I swear. I don't know. I don't know. It is pretty confusing, to be fair. Yeah, I think you're right. Andrew Tate is an Arab. It's no joke to state that he is one of the 4 Arabs. Interesting. You're reading the stuff I type. Better say something smart. Thoughts on Israel sizing up Turkey for its next mission? I mean, Israel is always destined to have an enemy. Israel is always destined to have some enemy to paper over the major cracks that it's experiencing. And it looks like the UAE is going to follow it down this path. I mean, the Saudi-Emirati rift is real. As you all know, a few months ago, people were reporting about this. The Emirates and Saudi Arabia are breaking apart. That's basically true. They're struggling. They've had frictions. They've had issues for a long time. Some of their biggest issues, so together, they've worked together on a lot of stuff. They crushed the Arab Spring together. They worked together on the Qatar crisis, but now they're breaking apart. And probably this pertains to Saudi not normalizing with Israel, and also splits over things like Sudan. One of the key reasons apparently is because Mohammed bin Salman asked Trump to intervene in Sudan. Trump didn't do it, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. How are they going to expand if they have no land to fight against and steal? I mean, it's much more just like the papering over the cracks. Like, Israel still has huge amounts of land to expand into. Gaza, it's probably West Bank, you know. It's trying to expand and expel the populations there. It's more to paper over the cracks, you know, of what it is. And the Ikhwan axis, as it calls it. I can't stop saying that. It's really funny. The Muslim Brotherhood axis is what the Emiratis and the Yemenis are going to go on. Did they join the Saudi coalition? Yeah. The UAE was part of the Saudi coalition against the Houthis. They're also majorly split over Yemen. So the Saudis back the like Yemeni UN recognized government. They're also having some meetings with the Houthis, face-to-face Saudi generals with Ansar Allah, so as not to be offensive to the Houthis, and also meetings with so they're having meetings with them, and also they're still backers of like the UN recognized government. The the Emiratis back the STC, the Southern Transitionary Council. What do you mean? Google the pronunciation. It's not said that harsh. What pronunciation? Isn't Israel supporting a separatist movement in Sudan, or was that just a plan? A separatist movement in Sudan? No, I don't think the Israelis are supporting a separatist movement in Sudan. They're probably involved in Sudan vaguely, but it's not the heaviest of their interest. If you mean Somalia, yeah, they're doing that. Did I just break my freaking Twitch app? Why would care about Houthis? Why would who care about the Houthis? Because the Houthis have cemented pretty significant control over northern Yemen. They're also gained quite a lot of legitimacy in terms of how they managed to stand up to the Emiratis. Oh, the Ikhwan. Is it not like that? I don't know. Let's listen. Ikhwan. Why am I going on Voxifier? Ikhwan. The Ikhwan is barely a movement, doesn't exist. The Emiratis see dangers. I mean, the Ikhwan definitely exists. The Muslim Brotherhood is real. The Muslim Brotherhood has shown a lot of power. It does have electoral power. It has power in a multitude of countries. But the notion it's like this really broad and evil terrorist organization is not true. The Emiratis made up the notion that the Muslim Brotherhood exist in the UAE, the Emirates. They made up that it exists there. It doesn't exist there. I mean, AKP in Turkey. What is in the ruling government there? What do you mean about the AKP? What do you mean about the AKP? Why did you mention the AKP? The US State Department hates them. The US State Department, the Muslim Brotherhood, they've had a pretty bumpy relationship. Sometimes they like them, sometimes they don't. But anyway, this is the latest in a long line of quite strange Emirati policies that are not really being talked about. So this was just Albert Pinto on this. I'll just read this and then we'll move on. On UAE's shock exit, I will have more for now. Economic, long-standing differences between UAE and Saudis on the future value of oil and how to maximize revenue from it. Yeah, the Emiratis basically believe you should pump unlimited oil, but in the case of the Saudis, they believe you should limit it. Geopolitical, UAE wants US plus Israel to finish the job with Iran. Saudis seek detente. Once again, this is just fundamental proof that all of this was made up. That stuff about the Saudis planning on, you know, getting involved in, supporting Trump's bombardment campaign. Re-UAE's OPEC decision, economics, oil has a different role for UAE's economy to Saudi's. UAE lower dependence versus the high Saudi's fiscal break even, i.e. higher Saudi prices to keep society content. Basically just the UAE has a better diversified economy. Is basically what it boils down to. UAE exit of OPEC gives flexibility. I'm actually going to read that post in a second. OPEC geopolitics. Iran has punished the UAE more than Saudi Arabia. Iran has short-range missiles and drones that bomb targets in the UAE, including bases, while Iran pointedly did not attack Saudis as much, also lacks those longer-range missiles. By the way, that's just wrong. Iran does have the long-range missiles that are capable of hitting Saudi Arabia. The Emiratis... Just this, that guy's a bit of an idiot, because first of all, the Emiratis literally got the Iron Dome sent to them from Israel. This was reported in a multitude of different outlets, but also they have normalized relations with them. In Malaysia, there's a business empire called Global Ikhwan Business, which turns out to be run by a cult and operates slave-like business in Europe with massive SA allegations they were forced to liquidate last year. Jesus Christ, I have never heard that. I have never, ever, ever heard that. I've never heard of that. That's awful. But yeah, they need not to produce as much oil too. Yeah, I didn't... what, as in the Saudis or the Emiratis? Iran smashed the Red Sea coast off Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I don't... That guy's just wrong about the range of missiles. Also, most importantly, the Emiratis have normalized relationships with Israel. Saudis don't. Even if it's just an informal thing. The Saudis do not have that. The Emiratis have that. The Emiratis literally took an Iron Dome battery to the country. So... it's genuinely moronic to say, like, oh... Iran was hitting it because it's close. Okay, mate. Okay, mate. They also hammered Qatar, a country that's way more aligned with them. It wasn't because it's close, it's because it hosts Al Udeid, the biggest airbase in the region. But the UAE's also been agitating for this for many, 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 many years. This is not some, like, entirely new thing that the Emiratis want out. one out of it, but Rory Johnston had a nice little tweet about this as well. There have been countless premature OPEC obituaries written over the years, and they've all turned out to be wrong. I expect they'll muddle through this latest blowout too, but make no mistake, the UAE announcing its departure from the producer group is a massive crack, arguably the biggest in the producer group's storied history. The UAE was the second most important member of OPEC, behind only Saudi Arabia. While it technically produced modestly less than Iraq, 3.4 versus 4.2 million barrels per day in Feb, it holds far more space capacity given recent capacity growth and commands far greater political influence within OPEC itself. OPEC without the UAE is a less potent production manager, but on the other hand, the endless gaslighting about its production figures, which regularly and notably outstripped its official OPEC production numbers, were a constant annoyance that consumed a lot of oxygen in the OPEC debate. Going forward, OPEC will be even more Saudi-dominated as an organisation, more than it was already, and these ups and downs, we see further defections. And then this ups the odds we see further defections, excuse me. It also very likely moves even more UAE barrels than it was already exporting, above and beyond quota limits, which is bearish for the post-war oil market. However, so long as the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, it will make little difference to realized flows. And I know most of the most of the Gulf states are, most of the inhabitants there are pro-Palestine. But their governments are not. The UAE is probably the most egregiously pro-Israel example. Like, really, really, really heavily pro-Israel. It's also a torturous authoritarian state, so it prevents its people from speaking up against it. No, they're leaving OPEC too. OPEC Plus. It is separate, but they've said they're leaving it too. What part did I just make up? Will allow the rift between Riyadh and Abu Dhabi to increase more. Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I don't know if you can call the monarchs entirely puppets. Like, when they first came into power, yeah. But as they've gone on, the monarchs have made decisions that have pissed off the Americans at times. Decisions that were not always in American interests. So not always entirely puppets. I don't think America would do the backing of what's going on in Sudan. I don't think they would, and they do bad things. But yeah, it's yeah. The bud always, that in the UK, the bud always had moisture in it. What does that mean? But yeah, they're leaving OPEC Plus. It's kind of crazy. I mean, they represent the aristocracy rather than democracy. Yeah, most definitely. Why would the US care about Sudan after what we were pushing for in Yemen? Because the situation... well, I mean, great point. Yeah, great point. Why would the US care about Sudan? Because the US was more directly involved in Yemen, I guess. Like, just was directly involved in Yemen. They literally trained the Saudi pilots to do the bombings. That's it. They buried the pyramid, or the labyrinth would be monumental, but not really possible since that buried pyramid. What? What does that mean? Oh. Oh, what, you're talking about buried structures in Egypt? I'd never heard of that. That's really interesting. But yeah, also, another couple of interesting stories that haven't really been picked up about the UAE was the UAE took a currency swap from the US of $1 billion, right? How much was it? A swap line of billions of American dollars. Really interesting. So here's Scott Bessent talking about it.
The war in Iran has already cost us dearly. In my view, it's been a huge mistake, made us less safe and a lot worse off. And now we understand that the UAE is asking you to provide them a swap line through the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Mr. Secretary, can you talk about this request and whether or not you expect to support it?
Many of our Gulf allies have requested swap lines. You would have just read about the UAE, and swap lines, whether it's from the Federal Reserve or the Treasury, are to maintain order in the dollar funding markets and to prevent the sale of the U.S. assets in a disorderly way.
So yeah, basically the UAE is asking for billions of dollars to be swapped over to the US, US dollars, which is quite interesting because they have huge amounts of dollar reserves. So why they're doing this is up for debate.
So the swap line would both benefit the UAE and the U.S. And as I said, numerous other countries, including some of our Asian allies, have also requested them.
But yeah, Adam Tooze has a long chart book about it, which is really interesting. But there's a great comment here of someone here. Read the puzzle of why the UAE would request a swap line when its dollar reserves are so high. I would be remiss as an Argentinian who experienced 2001 to 2002 if I didn't point out that bank deposits denominated in a pegged currency can be a critically important risk factor. Discussion of a sudden stop financing crises will usually focus on foreign investors holding a country's forex-dominated debt, but domestic citizens whose bank deposits are pegged to another country can themselves create a stampede effect, and one with a devastating political effect. They are quite rational to do so. If a devaluation actually happens, their claims to a repayment or compensation are often not even subject of discussion. Remember also that these domestic deposits are to a great extent the savings of the country's working and middle classes. Disorderly devaluation can lead to very directly to wiping out the savings of an entire generation. All this means that the individual depositor who misjudges forex risk stands to lose a far higher share of his or her net worth than the foreign bondholders writing down their overseas portfolio. They are thus arguably even more motivated than foreign investors to rush to the exits at the first sign of serious trouble. As it happens, my pol sci field paper at Stanford was on this subject. Stability of OPEC dominance that trusts the Gulf states in American hegemony. I've trust in American hegemony. Maybe that's the thing, that China will replace this, and that China's is just a much better global hegemon if you want to maintain this current capitalist status quo. It's much better to maintain the Americans as number one. That has to be it. And I see you guys are liking pegged to the dollar currency. That's what you like. And I don't know, I think the thing about buying supplies, I'm not sure we kind of need them, because the whole thing is like, this hasn't come yet, and I think the people who are kind of most going to be affected by this are just people in poorer countries. And because they're in poorer countries that don't play the largest role in the global financial system, that people will just disregard them. It's going to be places like Sudan, Somalia, and places like that, and they'll bear the brunt of this. And I think that that's the major issue. I'm not sure that it will end up causing major consequences in the in like Western countries. I'm sure there'll be food inflation. But yeah, basically they're talking about how the UAE is worried about how maybe there'll be a run on their banks because people are worried about the decline in their currency. And apparently this kind of already has happened. There are actually quite a few articles in places like the Financial Times one has this, and apparently Swiss media has been talking about this. Switzerland Zug becomes a bolt hole for Gulf-based wealth. People seem to be taking money out because it's just going to be this rather major issue. This rather major issue of like this thing of like, hey, Gulf money might struggle and it might not work in this way. By the way, they also pulled $3.5 billion out of Pakistan. I don't know if any of you knew this. The UAE just asked Pakistan for $3.5 billion back immediately. And Saudi paid for it. The Saudis gave them $3 billion. It's because the currency reserves of Pakistan, they needed the support. The UAE just asked for 3.5 billion out, and the Saudis had to give them 3 billion in. It's actually kind of crazy. When it is puzzled about why the UAE, which still has ample dollar reserves, would want swap lines. If the scale of Forex pegged deposits is large, and to take an entirely hypothetical example, the country's government starts visibly selling off Forex-denominated assets to accumulate reserves. This indicator alone can trigger a very rational stampede by the country's citizens to convert domestic deposits to Forex and ideally, in terms of security, moving them out of the country entirely. For details of how this can work out in practice, see Argentina's Lake Corralito, which ultimately became a forced devaluation via the Corralón. Fard Sheikh mentioned this, and this is a guy who's like an economist. You have not factored in the massive attrition in customer deposits at UAE banks. That outflow, present and near future, will hit their financial account. Will fall when they are reported in March and April. Starting point is 285 billion. How big is the deposit flight in your view? UAE can replenish reserves by borrowing in the market. Significant deposit flight will take place in the next 6 to 12 months instead of immediate drawdowns. Corporates and HNWIs will take time to put in place at par jurisdiction bank accounts due to lengthy KYC. By the way, this is all quite technical. Are they dumping gold? The price has been dropping recently. I don't know why gold's price fell. I'm not enough of an expert in it. Maybe because a lot of people dumped it to buy oil because they saw oil as a great, as a great way forward. As a great investment that would work in the future. Maybe that's why they dropped oil in favor... why they dropped gold in favor of oil. I don't actually know enough. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a gold investor. Is based on loans from the Gulf. Exactly. The Saudis just replaced the loans, but apparently the Saudis are slightly more cash-strapped than the Emiratis. I don't know. It'll probably pertain to the Saudis and the Emiratis having to walk back a huge amount of their investments that they've given out. But it's pretty wild. And this dumping will probably continue. I think the other major problem is going to be insurance. Like, big companies are going to have to... reconsider their arrangements in the Gulf, the profitability of it all, on the basis of the fact of, well, you know, what do you really do here? If the country's unstable, if your insurance premium goes up, yeah. It's just pretty wild. I don't know. There's more money being wasted on AI than this anyway. On what? On what on AI? What do you mean? There's a lot of money being wasted on it, definitely. I mean, Saudi Vision 2030 was always going to fail. By the way, these Gulf countries are always making these fucking stupid mega projects that fail. The Emiratis love it. Google the Arabian Canal or the Arabian Canal, which didn't work. Or you could Google the other Dubai World Islands or whatever they're called. World Islands. Yeah, I mean, the Egyptian economy is in fucking free fall and has been for a very long time. The Egyptian economy was fucked by Sadat, basically. And yet, the situation does seem to be really unprecedented and unpredictable. Oil is going to stay really high for a really long time. And the other major issue is when the winter hits, Europe's fucked. Because this is keeping on going for a really long time. And this is going to keep on going for a really, really, really long time. And we don't have enough natural gas. All of Europe let their stocks decline, and we're about to get back into the time where you need natural gas to heat people's homes. There's going to be more cost of living crisis stuff. It really is an unstable and a bizarre situation. Goldman Sachs are putting their estimation for the price of oil at, I think, $90 for the end of the year. Why is Egypt planning to flood part of the desert? Why are they planning to flood part of the desert? Flooding the Qatar Depression with Mediterranean seawater to generate massive amounts of clean energy. Interesting. Probably an Emirati project. That AI slob. Who's the AI slob? Who's the AI slob? But does this mean I am going to suffer? What does that mean? Egypt is just like Pakistan, held hostage by loans from the Gulf. I mean, Egypt is also held hostage by some really disastrous financial systems. When you have these... Basically, when you transition from like a planned economy and you do neoliberalism, it is like the worst combination of things imaginable. If you just basically allow the sell-off in a state in a dictatorial, the like things that the state has previously heavily invested in, you just create the most catastrophic situation imaginable. Also, quickly to note, Ryanair is now also saying that European airlines may fail. Stop with the money already. I hate money and everything it stands for. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting, right? How, you know, the 7 deadly sins include, like, basically the logic of capitalism. Really cool one, that. Well, apparently filling the Qatar Depression is real. Apparently they are talking about it. I don't know. I don't know, mate. Maybe they are, maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? No, Ryanair won't fail, by the way. It's more like a Wizz Air, Buzz Air, small European airlines. Yeah, I don't know. Most economic reasoning is grounded in the stabilities of the 20th century empire. Really hard to do probabilistic reasoning. It becomes less likely that tomorrow will resemble today. I mean, the world is changing at like a really, really fast, rapid rate. And also climate change is such a major factor. Got to create a dictatorship of the proletariat before we can get rid of money. Yeah, the only problem is how we doing that one. How's that happening? Maybe look into heating with methane generated with own waste. Does it generate a lot of CO2? Not sure on that. Mate, I have no idea. Money buys me Reese's, but even the chocolate is fake. I fucking hate the... I fucking hate Reese's because I'm allergic and I've never eaten one and I never will eat one in my entire life. It's actually really sad. I'd love to try peanut butter on toast. I have eaten a peanut, but not since I was a kid. So yeah, biodigesters have a pretty limited scope. I can't even address that. I'm not enough of an expert. We basically just need to switch to green energy in part, and we should have done it a long time ago, and we're moving nowhere near quick enough. And the fact that we live in a world that continually wants to turn a blind eye to that is just fucking insane. It really is insane that we have to deal with that. Okay, right, Lebanon, Channel 4. Okay, right, we're going to talk about Lebanon now, because by the way, the fighting's still going on in Lebanon. I don't want Reese's almonds. I don't care for almonds that much.
A ceasefire where the firing never seems to cease. This is southern Lebanon. Israel destroying buildings in an area it seized as a buffer against Hezbollah rocket attacks. Israel says it's demolishing the Iran-backed group's infrastructure in these villages. But Lebanon says there were women and children among 14 people killed yesterday and several hundred killed since the two sides called a truce a week and a half ago. This is...
I'm not going to show this because, I mean, it's on YouTube, but it's a video. You can find it for yourself if you really want to. It's a video of Israelis doing a med evacuation being targeted with a drone. So, which the Israelis complained about and said it was a violation of international law, which probably is. It probably is a violation of the laws of war. But the Israelis love to do this shit. Why on earth would anyone respect the Israelis in terms of that?
We have a ceasefire, but no progress after Trump's team was a no-show for talks on Iran in Pakistan at the weekend.
They can call us anytime they want. Again, we have all the cards.
But Iran's foreign minister, meeting ally President Putin today, engaged in some diplomatic posturing of his own.
They have achieved none of their goals. That's why they asked for negotiation. We are now considering it.
It's not just...
Nice one, Aragchi.
Iran claiming the US is on the back.
Also, sorry, I've just seen a very strange story from a reputable person. Apparently, so a few months ago, the Brandenburg Anti-Semitism Commissioner got his house burnt down, and now apparently the German police are saying that friends of his may have been involved in the arson attack on his house. Crazy one. Crazy one. Sorry, just saw Merz and it reminded me of it.
But the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz says President Trump went to war without a strategy and is being outplayed by Tehran.
The Iranians are obviously negotiating very skillfully, or rather very skillfully not negotiating. An entire nation is being humiliated by the Iranian state leader.
I mean, bro, this is the first time that Friedrich Merz ever spat facts. My guy, he told the truth. Actually, he spits facts quite regularly. Like when he said, Israel is doing our dirty work, Europe's dirty work. That was the time he spit facts. I'll be your friend on a £5 a month subscription model. Exactly.
Leadership.
It's reported Iran's offering to reopen the Strait of Hormuz in return for the US lifting its blockade and putting off discussions about Iran's nuclear program. All the time ships are stuck in the strait, oil and gas supplies are squeezed. Crude oil has reached $108 a barrel, the highest it's been for 3 weeks. The International Maritime Organization says trapped sailors...
Brent crude is currently about $111. By the way, how shit do you reckon it is just being stuck in the Strait of Hormuz? Like, just stuck on one of those boats? I bet it is rotten. How many people are on these boats as well? Like, just a guesstimate. What, like 5? You're all sharing the same toilet. You're spending all of that time with the same people. And you can't even just, like, hop off and go to the shore. I'd be so bored. You can't even get, like, the Xbox on there. God hopes that these men have some Nintendo Switches on there. No, I haven't covered the 3 Ukrainians who tried to burn down Starmer's house. That was an interesting one.
Must be rescued.
Step 1 is to bring this conflict to an end. Step 2 will be to guarantee that it is safe and that there are no hazards in the Strait of Hormuz. From there, we can start moving into the evacuation of those seafarers that need it the most. But
I feel like that hasn't been spoken enough, just of how, like, fucking miserable that is. And, like, what can you do if you jump to shore, though? Sorry, just to go back to that. What, did you jump to shore and then you just got to walk up some really high terrain, just into Iranian mountains? Probably hot there, and you just probably be a bit bored there, too. I mean, you know, if you're going to Tehran or something, oh wow, party central, you know, you might meet some chill people. But, well, you probably definitely would meet some chill people. You can do some cool stuff. But here, I don't know, it just looks like a big hill. I wouldn't want to walk up there.
it will take some time for shipping to go back to normal.
Tonight at the UN, dozens of nations again demanded the strait be reopened.
Yeah, they better be getting a bonus for living in the fucking Strait of Hormuz. Christ almighty. I think that the Strait of Hormuz did once upon a time. I don't know if it's been affected or impacted by what's been going on recently actually have like some really wonderful wildlife in it. So, well, I guess just that sort of area, the Persian Gulf.
The White House says President Trump has talked about Iran's new proposal with aids, but his red lines haven't changed.
Well, let's talk now to Aaron David Miller, who's a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and a former State Department diplomat who spent...
This guy kind of looks a little bit like Iggy Pop, so I'm not sure I want to listen to his opinion.
...years negotiating for peace in the Middle East. Thanks for joining us. The German Chancellor says it's humiliating. Donald Trump keeps saying he has all the cards. Iran basically has agreed to pretty much everything, even giving up.
And vis-a-vis, like, oh, it takes a while to move around on a ship anyway and cross the ocean, like 2 months. Mate, like, when they're doing that, they can sing sea shanties, they can, like, do sick stuff, they can, like, sail the high seas, they can go at different knots. That's fun. That's cool. But being stuck in the Strait of Hormuz, what can you do? Just go forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards? I don't know.
With stockpiles of enriched uranium. What's humiliating about that?
Look, I think German Chancellor's comments aren't going to endear him to President Trump, but they're probably more correct than not. I mean, the administration's calculations on this war have proven so far, and I might add, we're entering the 3rd month next week. The average length of an interstate conflict since 1815, studies have actually been done on this, is 3 to 4 months. I don't see this conflict ending anytime soon, and there are only a couple options, neither of which are, frankly...
You can't sing sea shanties when you're stuck. You can't. It's not the same thing. Like, come on. You think you're in high spirits? Like, compare, like, cruising through the ocean, you know, moving really, really quick and stuff. Wow. Awesome. You can do the sea shanties, but pff, no. You're not doing them privately. How many people are just on an oil tanker? Okay, there's 20. Apparently there's between 15 and 30, let's go for. That would be okay. But also, imagine how, like, imagine how horny some of those people are on that damn ship.
That favorable to the United States.
He does kind of look like a happier Chevy Chase, actually, if Chevy Chase didn't go bold so early.
One is essentially removing the blockade and the Iranians opening the straits and then defining 30 to 45-day period to test the possibility. And by the way, I think it is only a possibility that the Iranians and Americans could agree on all kinds of issues, but most importantly on the nuclear issue. That's one option. Number 2 is to drift and basically to escalate. If Trump were prepared to keep the blockade on until September, I think he could probably break the Iranian economy. But the question is what?
By the way, that would break the global economy. I think at that point, China would actually just step in. Is something on your mind today? No, it's just a thought of imagine just being on a ship for that long. Why do you think the Navy's so gay? Why do you think the Navy's so gay? Just because I decide to ask questions, you guys think that there's something wrong with it? Sorry, you guys all loved that little monkey who was curious the other day. Forgot his name. Curious, whatever. He was curious, and that was a value and something that people venerated about him. But when I'm a bit curious, oh no. When I'm curious whether he had a hat, no, he never had it. Whether I'm curious whether the sailors are banging or not, apparently that's weird.
Whose economies would be broken in the process?
What about this idea that Iran is...
Wow, this guy looks like Glenn Quagmire with a smaller chin. His head is insane! Oh my gosh! Look at that! What the actual hell? His head is so pointed! Everything, even the round part of his head is pointed. Yeah, Curious Jimmy, that's what the monkey was called. A little waiting. They've been in the Strait of Hormuz for 2 months. 2 months. Just sat in the same place, same surrounding. I guess if you're in the middle of the sea, it's not that different. To be honest, if you showed them this video, I'm sure they would be very, 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 very intrigued by this. Because this man's head is crazy.
Militarily.
Those are the options.
Iran is floating this idea that you separate out opening up the Strait of Hormuz and the nuclear.
By the way, just to go back to this, also, the Iranian economy can hold this stress for a very, 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 very long time. Iran can reduce oil production. They've done it multiple times before. It's not some new surprising thing to them. They were sanctioned, cut off from the global economy during the 2019-2020 and stuff. So what's going to happen?
A part of all of this. Do you think that's a goer for Donald Trump at all?
I mean, if the war were to conclude tomorrow with the straits being opened and the blockade lifted, with the regime surviving, with absolutely no progress on the nuclear issue, what was this all about? The straits were open February 28th. This whole thing was about the nuclear issue. So I think for Trump, it's elemental that he somehow finds some way to achieve something on the nuclear issue. I just don't.
Yeah. I really. There was actually another brilliant comment on the. I just find it so funny how you get like this analysis that's like Iran's gonna collapse and stuff. To be honest, like, don't discount it. Don't pretend Iran is like perfect or is really, you know, in this like mega strong position. Its military has been degraded. Its economy is in a really hard situation. More people are being forced into poverty. However, what also can be said is this is the global economy being strangled by the Iranians, and the best option that the US has is to worsen Iran's economy more whilst Iran gets to worsen the rest of the global economy and start affecting people, or what? Or what?
See it working because...
Do not bring up George again. You know nothing of him. Yeah, keep chatting yappa about Curious George. I know everything about him. You guys didn't even know he had a fucking hat. They've been fighting the sanctions for the decade. They can definitely survive this. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Its military has been degraded. Well, the US did carry out a huge amount of strikes. They killed senior military figures. Those people can be replaced, but, you know, certain people it is difficult to replace. Like, I don't know specific individuals in the Iranian military who are like akin to this, but Qasem Soleimani was never really replaced by anyone as competent as him, or if you want to believe that understanding of things. I'm sure whoever came next filled a job. But the like missile infrastructure, the Iranian Air Force, which they used to bomb, I think, which they used to bomb. Which airbase did they use to bomb? Did any of you read that about how the Iranians flew a plane and just bombed one of the Gulf states with it? But yeah, the US's military... You are correct about that, and that's something that's not talked about. The US has degraded its military capability, which is not really a mega issue for like here and now. It's much more long-term issue is where the US's degradation has gone down so much.
Because unless you fix the straits...
Was it an F5 Phantom?
...straits problem, diffuse it, you can't get to the negotiating table. And if you can't do that, you can't do this.
And no. The point isn't to say the Iranian military is gone. That's wrong. It's moronic. It's the kind of crap that Trump sells to his moronic fan bases. But the Iranian military is degraded, undeniably. That's not to say that it can't do anything, that it cannot do anything. That is wrong. The notion that it is obliterated, decimated, whatever these people are saying is wrong. However, the notion that it has been degraded, that's true. Like, there is nothing you can do about constantly being bombarded by the biggest militaries in the world. They can hit your production centers. Even somewhere like steel production facilities, steel production, that's going to degrade the Iranian economy and the Iranian military. You need steel probably for some aspects of military. Also rebuilding military sites, I guess. I have Curious George on a lunchbox. Shut up. Who's Curious George?
It's on a cell phone or on the back of a cocktail napkin. Iranians and Americans have to sit down to negotiate.
If anyone can spin a bad deal as a good deal, isn't that person Donald Trump?
Yeah, it is true. And you have to consider the fact that is there any constituent...
It is Qasem Soleimani, no? Qasem Soleimani.
...in this country that would really be disappointed if Trump found a way out of this? Probably not.
Exactly. That's the key point, and I totally agree with you on this, Skiing God. The military capability they need to launch rockets and close the strait is far too dispersed to destroy quickly. Exactly.
And what about this idea? There's been some reporting that there is some truth, at least, to the idea that Donald Trump and the Americans are now negotiating with a somewhat more reasonable Iranian regime. They are more...
By the way, this was also what they kept saying in Gaza. This is what they kept saying in Gaza, that if they killed Sinwar, Mohammed Sinwar, Daesh, that they'd be able to negotiate, that it would all be awesome. Nope.
Open.
Nope. Lies then, lies now.
To a deal than perhaps the previous Supreme Leader was.
I mean, that may in fact be true. The question is, can they make a decision on a deal? Someone said that what's happened with the death of Ali Khamenei is that you've removed the one balancing mechanism, the one individual who in fact could create a consensus and make a decision. Someone said we've gone from divine power, domination of the clerical establishment, to hard power, domination of the generals, the military, a securitized state. Seems to me, if there was any future right now for this Iranian regime, it's not Pakistan, it's not Russia, it's not China, as my colleague, Carnegie colleague Karim Shapur says, it's probably North Korea. This is a harder line.
Probably true. That part's probably true as well. I just want to see if this is new. Nope, that's not new. And I was hoping this video would cover more on Lebanon. It didn't, but it was still all right. Still pretty interesting. This is just a really old video. Lebanon. And every week, Israel destroyed all the remaining Hamas fighters, yet they never won after weeks. Of course. And in fact, the longer that it went on, the more issues that they had. The more issues that they had with Israeli soldiers being killed. But yeah. They thought by attacking Tehran they would automatically secure the strait, but they forgot Maldini doesn't let anyone through, lest we forget. What does that mean about Maldini? Same with Saddam. Hugh Abbott. Which one's... I was just wondering who Hugh Abbott was, and he's from the thick of it. He does actually really look like him. That's actually kind of fucking crazy. That was a great pull there. They also seem to think that attacking Iran would just collapse the government instantaneously. But it didn't, obviously. Vice President J.D. Vance fears the Pentagon may be providing President Trump with inaccurate information on the conflict in Iran, per The Atlantic. Brilliant. Brilliant. I love all of this positioning that... I love all of this positioning that... I love all of this posturing and this positioning that, you know, J.D. Vance was against this and that he thinks they're being fed inaccurate information. Maybe do something about it. You know, you're just the vice president. Yeah. Maldini, the Iranian defense. Brilliant. It's just J.D. Vance trying to wash his hands of this. That's all it is. There's nothing more to it. That's all that this is. It's not some actual really, really, really caring or interested thing. There's actually a Marco Rubio interview that I wonder if it is out by now. Marco Rubio talking about Lebanon. I think it was on Fox. Here it is.
Watching the security steps they took around the president.
Just moments ago, Fox News senior foreign correspondent Trey Ying's, he sat down with Secretary of State Marco Rubio in an exclusive...
No, I don't think Vance blocked any Mossad plans. I don't think he was interested in stopping Curious George.
Interview, and they talked about a lot of things, including the Iran conflict and the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He joins us from the State Department.
By the way, also quickly, people getting 2-minute reels of them and that defining their politics. Reagan watched a video of the first ever Stinger strike on a Russian helicopter that in part included, I believe, like militant Islamists like mutilating bodies, and he like loved the video. So there's a precedent for this.
What were your top takeaways, Trey?
You will make me scream angrily. Oh, you don't want to hear from JD. I'm afraid you're hearing from him.
Dana, good morning. We just spoke with
I hate Trey Yingst as well. Really, really, really hate Trey Yingst.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio for an exclusive interview, his first sit-down since the ceasefire went into effect between the United States and Iran. We talked not just about that conflict, but also the negotiations between Israel and Lebanon and the ceasefire inside the Gaza Strip. But I also asked the secretary about the White House Correspondents' Dinner he attended on Saturday night. Here's what he had to say. You were at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night. I'm curious what was going through your mind when shots were fired outside of the ballroom.
I didn't hear shots. I just saw a bunch of security people rushing in from the, I guess, the back of the room, front stage. So the first thing you wonder immediately, just knowing kind of what's out there, is there an internal threat? Is there a threat inside of the ballroom itself? Well, and then the second is, you know, what are they dealing with, some mass event that's happening?
Yeah, I'm a Trey Yingst hater too. I'm really developing a hatred of Trey Yingst.
From the outside in. So, but I saw them follow all the security protocols. I was watching the security steps they took around the president. It was pretty apparent at that point that they were trying to remove him from the scene as is appropriate. So, you know, look, I mean, it was sort of an unfortunate situation that happened there where one individual can disrupt what is, you know, one of the bigger nights in Washington, especially when the president attends. So that's kind of the world we live in right now.
And you immediately went to the White House.
Yeah, we did. We went backstage to the command center where the president's at in the back, and sort of the first assessment that needed to be made was to be clear that all of the continuity of government things were in place, and that was quickly assessed to be the case.
The focus for the administration this week remains on those negotiations between the United States and Iran. You'll remember Saturday morning before the dinner, the president decided not to send special envoys Kushner and Witkoff to Islamabad, Pakistan, over questions about how serious the Iran...
By the way, I think the Iranians just were like, no, we're not doing it. And I think that was the problem.
Were about making a good faith deal.
And vis-a-vis Curious George and Hamas, I'm not actually sure. You'll have to look into that to yourself. So I don't know if he's been on Piers Morgan recently.
I asked the secretary about the Strait of Hormuz and reports that indicate the Iranians are willing to open it. Early on Saturday, President Trump canceled the planned talks in Islamabad, Pakistan, encouraging the delegation not to go. And on Saturday, the president canceled the talks in Islamabad, Pakistan, keeping special envoys Kushner and Witkoff here in the United States. He said just 10 minutes later, the Iranians made a new offer on paper, and it was better.
If what they mean by opening the straits is, yes, the straits are opened as long as you coordinate with Iran, get our permission, or we'll blow you up, and you pay us, that's not opening the straits. Those are international waterways. They cannot normalize, nor can we tolerate them trying to normalize a system in which the Iranians decide who gets to use an international waterway and how much you have to pay them to use it.
Isn't this what they're doing to Cuba?
The secretary spoke about how the Iranians are actually willing to speak at this point, given the pressure that was applied on the regime, not just economically with the U.S. blockade against Iranian ports, but also the firepower during Operation Epic Fury. As for any...
I didn't know this. Did you guys know that Islamabad is a city that was built in like the 1970s? It's not even like a very old city. Like, it has a history, but it was largely built and made the capital as it is now in the 1950s and 60s. It was made the capital. It wasn't. Karachi was not previously previously the capital, but yeah, they made it. Yeah. It's actually kind of interesting. I recently learnt that. Why is he describing the Panama Canal? Funded by King Faisal. It's a new town. Yeah, it's really interesting. He was curious about Marxist-Leninism. Brush up on your Curious George history. Yeah. I mean, the Strait of Hormuz thing, you can't really charge a toll on the Strait of Hormuz. The reason there's a toll in, like, on the on a canal is because it's man-made, and also because in part, like, when you go through a canal, you damage it. When you go through the Strait of Hormuz, you don't damage it. There's not, like, wear and tear on it. And, like, you probably can't enforce this during normal times. But for as long as this situation goes on, and for as long as global shipping doesn't return to the normal situation, this is just going to go on like this forever. Anyway, right. Twitter's not working. Fuck. Oh wait, Twitter is working. Come on, Twitter. You just did it. Yeah, okay, cool. Panama requires maintenance costs. Yeah, same with the Suez Canal. They sure as fuck can charge a toll. It probably just won't work. Like, it's hard to think that Oman will really get involved by that. I like, just really, yeah. Does Turkey get more money for the Bosphorus? I don't actually know. I'm not an expert on international shipping, but generally it's only really canals that you do. Maybe Bosphorus does. I don't know. Once upon a time, it was open waterways until the British fucked it up. Right. Denmark did get invaded by about 500 euro nations to abolish the sound toll, which is why the Baltic Sea is considered an international waterway. I didn't know that. The Iranian half is very acute and full of rocky terrain, while the Iranian half is shallower and gives a wider berth for ships. Yeah, but eventually the Omanis will say, right, this can't go on forever, and it would cause such detriment. Like, international shipping basically just wouldn't work. The major issue is long-term international shipping probably isn't going to work for a long time because it already had very fine margins, and you're eating into them basically through this like major increase in shipping prices. Insurance prices. That's the major issue. And because it's eating into profits already, it's pretty questionable as to whether anyone could afford a toll and whether this would just be to the detriment of any shipping even working there. And so when we're talking about a more peaceful time, it's kind of hard.
Hi, I'm reporting to you from the town of Tibnin. I don't know if you can hear the Israeli Air Force flying over us right now. And a drone. But about an hour ago, the town was bombed after an illegal forced displacement order from the Israeli army. And right now we're standing at the Tibnin Governmental Hospital, which was heavily damaged during the 45-day war. Several airstrikes targeted Tibnin during the war, and a lot of...
What the hell is that? Is that a Lebanese army vehicle?
Them were around the hospital, causing extensive damage, as you can see here. And during the war, this was one of the governmental hospitals in South Lebanon. They received most of the dead and injured here. So far today, the Israeli army has targeted Lebanon with 9 attacks.
Hashtag Lebanon needs FPVs. No, silly little joke there. Please, British government, don't get involved. An M113, what would it be? A Lebanese military vehicle?
Drone strikes, airstrikes, killing multiple people, and an illegal controlled demolition of homes in the town of Shama. A rundown of yesterday's attacks. The Israeli army targeted Lebanon more than 30 times yesterday with various types of attacks, killing 4 people and injuring more than 50, including children. Right now, we're approximately 8 kilometers from the town of Bint Jabal, which is currently occupied by the Israeli army while they carry out controlled demolitions of the entire town. Civilian infrastructure, civilian homes.
By the way, there is no military purpose for this. This is just insane levels of destruction. I watched a video. Many countries ask for that fee passage. Turkey, Denmark, Australia. They just called it differently, like for security to manage the traffic. Really? I don't know. I don't know about that. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's not a normal ceasefire at all. It's not a normal ceasefire, but I mean, this time, the major change, basically, is Israel has thought that it could get away with this. I think Hezbollah are going to keep on killing lots of Israeli soldiers with drones, and it will create major issues, because the occupation will long-term be seen as not worth it, because it requires Israeli soldiers to get killed with fucking drones.
So it's just kind of over the hill over there. You may have seen the horrific satellite imagery that came out in the last couple of days of the town of Bint Jabal. the before and after. Every incident that I've mentioned in this report is a war crime, and American tax dollars are paying for it.
Yeah, this lady is Courtney Bonneau, and she is doing brilliant reporting. She's in Lebanon. Obviously, she's in southern Lebanon right now. She's just been recording, just showing information of what's happening. It's very obvious that there is not a ceasefire in southern Lebanon. Look at this video as well. This is fucking insane. Just incredible. Just entire, like, just read this. Rina Farhat says, I'm an interior designer and my friend is from Kandara. His cousin has 3 homes and 1 carpenter shop that has machines worth more than $100,000. All gone, exploded, everything. He worked for his entire life gone, so sad. Some things must be geo-blocked here in the UAE. What do you mean? What do you mean, what's geo-blocked? Oh, what have I just seen? Oh, no, it's nothing. I don't think the Israelis have 5T. That's at least a 5-ton bomb. It's not even a bomb. That's most likely, that's a village rigged to blow with huge amounts of explosives. Israel's probably placed huge amounts of explosives there. That's probably all that boils down to, and that's probably what that is. That's probably what it is. It's probably not a bomb actually being dropped by the Israelis.
זה ההסכם שעשינו עם ארצות הברית וגם עם ממשלת לבנון. בלבנון הישגים כבירים, חיסול המערך הרקטי שאיים על כל המדינה, יצירת רצועת ביטחון שמונעת את האפשרות של פלישה לתוך צפון הארץ, ועכשיו מונעת גם ירי של טילי נ"ט ישירים, אבל גם
Oh my gosh, anti-tank missiles. Oh my gosh, the poor Makavas.
מאפשרת לנו לשנות את המצב בלבנון. אנחנו תוקפים כמו עכשיו, גם ברצועת הביטחון, גם צפונית לרצועת הביטחון, גם צפונית לליטני. חופש הפעולה שלנו הוא לסכל איומים. איומים מיידיים, איומים מתהווים. זה ההסכם שעשינו עם ארצות הברית וגם עם ממשלת לבנון. אני לא משלה את עצמי שהדבר הזה יבוא בקלות. אני גם לא חושב, ואני אומר את זה ביושר, המלאכה לא הושלמה. יש עדיין 2 איומים מרכזיים מלבנון, מחיזבאללה, איום הרקטות 122 ואיום הרחפנים והכטב"מים. וזה דורש שילוב של פעילות מבצעית ופעילות טכנולוגית.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Netanyahu is not pleasant. I mean, he did have cancer, in case you guys didn't know. He spoke about how he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, but it's all cleared up, unfortunately. I mean, I don't like Netanyahu, but it's kind of insane that they just openly admit this, that they're like, we are allowed to attack forever. Just amazing that that's what Israelis consider a ceasefire. The Israelis don't even plan to give any kind of a chance to the Palestinians of to the Lebanese government of trying to even disarm Hezbollah, although they can't do it. Also, apparently two Lebanese army soldiers were wounded as a result of an Israeli targeting in Majd al-Zaun in South Lebanon. But yeah, 2 soldiers from the... It's also kind of crazy. You just have a military where your soldiers get wounded and you just accept that. Do you believe in execution? Does anyone here? Maybe for international war criminals, yes, but I think average people, no. I think when it comes to international war criminals, maybe that's the best option, so that they can never be freed by some regime who's like, actually, they were fine. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've seen Israel videos that were clearly, yeah, it'll be controlled explosions. And it is also, just to note, it's also just a really beautiful, beautiful country, southern Lebanon. Barbara Pitt. Oh, is that someone you'd like to... I don't know what that means, but maybe, yeah, maybe Barbara Pitt. Okay, guys. Right, on that note, I think I will end the stream for today. Vis-a-vis live tomorrow. Just check my YouTube page, or I'll announce it in the Discord whether I'm live. Just check by 3 p.m. I'll have let you know. I might be, I might not be. Depends how I'm feeling and what I've got to do. I got to prep for my podcast with Isaac and stuff. But yeah. Thank you all for coming. I hope you have a lovely, lovely rest of the day, and I will see you soon.